Hey, Prime members, you can listen to Crime and Sports early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the app today.
In the depths of an Atlanta forest, a clash between activists and authorities ends in tragedy. I'm Matthew Scher, and on my new podcast, We Came to the Forest, we expose the hidden truths behind a shootout that left one activist dead and countless lives forever changed. Binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest ad-free on Wondery Plus.
Everybody, and welcome back to Crime and Sports.
Yay!
Oh, yay indeed, Jimmy. Yay indeed. My name is James Pietragallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Jimmie Whisman.
Thank you, folks, so much for joining us on another edition of Crime and Sports. And wow, another just a crazy one again today. We were on a streak of a lot of wild stuff. Another one with some murder involved today.
Oh!
So, yeah, it's not just a couple of DUIs and something like that. This is, shit is serious this week. We'll get into that. Before we do, head over to shutupandgivememurder.com. Get your tickets for live shows for Small Town Murder for the rest of the year. They're sold out through the summer pretty much, except for Chicago, August the 12th. Get your tickets, Chicago. Come and see us. We cannot wait for that show. It's going to be our biggest show ever, so let's fill that bad boy up. Come from Milwaukee, come from all around, and come and see us there. Thank you so much. Yes, we can't wait. A lot of them are sold out, though. The only other dates available later on in the year, we have Dallas, a few tickets left in D.C., Philly, Charlotte, Atlanta. So there you go. Get your tickets now. Shutupandgivememurder.com. New merch up, all sorts of good shit there. Right. Patreon.com/crime and sports is where you get all the bonus stuff. Anybody $5 a month or above, you get access to everything. Hundreds of bonus episodes on there to binge on. Not only that, you're going to get 2 new ones every week. That's how we build them up so fast. And what you're going to get this week is, for Crime and Sports, we're going to talk about, this is fun, in-ring boxing deaths.
Right.
So what? A man beat to death in front of a crowd of people and possibly broadcast to millions more on television. And just beaten to death right in front of all of them. We get to talk about that. It's happened so many times over the years, just so many times. Then for Small Town Murders bonus, which you'll also get access to, we're going to talk about a crazy documentary that makes the wild and wonderful whites of West Virginia. This looks like you're watching a retrospective on the royal family compared to these people. Yeah, they're from Mudlick, Kentucky. There's it's a total mess. A murder stems from the documentary that you can see blossoming in the. You're like, oh, that guy's going to kill somebody, and then he does. Like right after they're done. So it's pretty wild stuff. It's called American Hollow. We'll talk about all of that and more. Patreon.com/crime and sports. And you get a shout out at the end of the show as well, because God damn it, we appreciate you. And appreciate you so much. Jimmy's going to mispronounce your name. He's going to take the time and the care to mispronounce it properly.
I want to say it all properly.
That's a lot of fun. And also, keep an eye out for Your Stupid Opinions, our new show all about internet reviews of everything. And God, there's so many. It's hilarious. We have so much stuff.
There's a surplus.
We want to tell you exactly when it's coming out. The show's ready and done. It's not the show. We're waiting for the business stuff to get done, the feed to be set up, and we don't have a lot of control over this. So we're just waiting and waiting on other people, and it's frustrating. But we'll get there, and it's going to be every week, and so don't worry about it. It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
Keep an eye out. That said, let's get into this, Jimmy.
All right.
Let's do it with our guy of the week here. It is another Phoenix Sun. I was telling Jimmy before, I said we got another Sun, another early 90s Sun, which he was naming off the multitudes of guys, because there's guys on the Suns we haven't even gotten to yet. Cliff Robinson, Kevin Johnson. We've done Barkley, Oliver Miller, Richard Dumas, so many of these guys.
I remember this one already.
And now we're going to do a different one here.
Yeah.
Jerrod Mustaf. Remember him? Yes.
Mustaf. That's right.
Yeah. Jerrod Mustaf. Here he is.
Is it Jerrod or
Jerrod? I guess it's Jerrod
Who
Mustaf.
fucking knows? It's Mustaf.
Jerrod.
You know that.
I think it's Jerrod, actually, now that I think about it. His first name is actually Terah, Terrah.
Oh.
Terrah Jerrod Mustaf. But he's also Terrah Jerrod Brown. because his dad changed his name to Mustaf, as we'll talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's born October the 28th, 1969.
Is that right?
1969, yeah. Well, I mean, he played in the early 90s. It makes sense. That's when he's in his early 20s.
I guess.
Yeah, you're just older, and so that sounds...
Yeah.
No, Jerrod Mustaf can't be that old. That would make me old, too.
It just feels so old.
It feels old. Then he's from Whiteville, North Carolina. That's where he's from, which I think that probably gives you a pretty good idea what's going on there.
Yeah.
He's a big...
They did that on purpose.
Yeah, I think so. That's a warning to y'all.
Yeah.
He's a big guy, by the way. For some reason, I thought of him as a small forward,
6'10"?
like a 3. Yeah, he's a 6'10".
He was a center, right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a center power. I mean, a small
Right.
center. 6'10"
Whatever, yeah.
center is. But that's what the Suns were running with in the
They were
early
playing it,
nights.
yep.
Mark West wasn't a fucking drop
No,
over
he was
6'10",
6'10".
and that's where he
Right.
was playing. So he's about 240, and when he grows up here, he goes to a couple different schools. Goes to school in Maryland, though. Goes to a Catholic school called DeMatha Catholic. We'll talk about all of
That's a high
that
school?
stuff. Yeah, that's his high school, and he went to Maryland for college. That we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Let's find out where he came from. What
did
soil grew this tall tree from it, from whence it sprung? His father's name is Shar Mustaf, Shaar.
Okay.
Mustaf, but he changed it
probably
to
an-
that when he converted to
Yeah.
Islam. So I don't know how you say it, because
There's probably an apostrophe in there somewhere
it's
too, right?
yeah. No, there isn't actually. It's just Shar.
It's just Shaar?
Yeah, but I bet it's Shar. I'm thinking for some reason. The mother's name is Lily Mae Brown.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's didn't change her name. So now Shar was born in Whiteville. That's where he's from too. In 1944. His name originally is Richard McDonald.
Yeah, but that doesn't sound very...
Dickie Mack. You don't want to be Dickie Mack. So I'm going with Shar Mustaf. That sounds way cooler than Dickie Mack over here. Dick McDonald?
No, thank you.
That's just a rejected name for Ronald. Like when they were coming up, they were like, we need like a mascot. How about a clown? Yeah, kids love clowns. All right, that's good. What do we call him? I don't know. Frankie. How about Frankie the Frankie, what is he? A fucking guinea clown? We can't have that. How about Dick?
What about Dick McD?
What about Dickie McD, we call him, and we, send him out there. I don't know. How about Ron? I guess Ronald McDonald. It rhymes. Sure, fine. Fuck it.
Jesus Christ.
I think Richard was originally the name, though.
Unbelievable.
So 2 days after graduating from high school, Dad here, Shar, he leaves the family farm and heads north, getting the fuck out of Whiteville, North Carolina, immediately. Like, took a day to pack and left the day after that. Gone.
Okay.
And he went to Detroit first, which that was a lot of migration of black people from the South would be to industrial cities because there's jobs in Detroit.
Right. There's work, sure.
Yeah, in the 60s, you go to Detroit, you get a job.
Boy.
Auto worker.
They're churning out cars.
And then he ends up in Newark after that.
Oh, God.
Yeah, he goes there. I guess he's talking about his dad, and Jerrod will talk about it too. His dad had didn't like the town he came from. His sister, when he was 13, he says his sister was raped by an older white man, and nobody did anything about it. So that made him upset.
That's fucked up.
And he says that his mother had been, now I don't know when she died, but I'll read exactly what it says. That same year, his ailing mother had been passed up by an ambulance because she was black, and they didn't pick up black people in this ambulance.
What?
And it says sometime later she died. Now, I don't know if that means later in the day, like she died because they didn't pick her up, or 10 years later she died and had nothing to do with that particular medical episode. I'm not sure, but either way.
She died 10 years later of that particular
Or
medical
of that.
episode because nobody would pick her up.
There's a lot of options. She's still waiting for it. Yeah, it's been 10 years, guys. It's really manifested into something bad here. Either way.
You should tell a little bit better story with that sentence.
And it makes you understand 2 days after graduation, I'm getting out of here. So he returned, though, after a few years, realizing that the education he got in high school, basically, he said he couldn't get a job with it, couldn't do anything. So he left again and was upset after that. So he comes back. He leaves again in the late 60s. He's upset, and he said he hated North Carolina. Was never going back there again. Okay. By then, he was in the Black Panthers by then, so he wasn't going to live in Whiteville, North Carolina.
No.
So he says he never joined them, but he was always hanging around with them and doing shit with them. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he's not an official.
Changed his name, but
no
membership.
That's just Muslim, though. That's just he changed to Islam.
All
you
right.
have to be a Black Panther if you're Islam. I mean, Muhammad Ali wasn't a Black Panther.
Great point. Yeah.
Plenty of people from back then, but if you're hanging around with people all the time. Yeah. He
supported his local.
If you're hanging out at the Hell's Angel bar and you're always going to the Hell's Angel parties and you go on all the runs and you do all that and people go, you're with the Hell's Angels. You go, well, I never joined them, but you're with them all the time. So
I'm not wearing a jacket or anything.
Who are all your friends? Oh, a bunch of Hell's Angels. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Jesus Christ.
You're involved. They trust you.
Yeah. So he said, though, that Shar, the name, is Muslim for one who sets his own standards. That's what he says his name means. And Mustaf stands for endurance.
Yeah.
That's what he said. So Dad said, quote, I had a Christian upbringing where you were taught to love everyone, but I felt anger and hatred. I wanted to challenge the world, and there I was doing all this big talking without a nickel.
Okay.
So I don't know what the money would have to do with it, but I mean, if you have ideas, you don't really have to have money to spout
Your
ideas.
ideas are only good if they make money.
You got to have money behind them, I guess. So he was 28 when he conceived his son here. When he got one,
fertilized the egg,
slipped one past the goalie here.
Yeah.
Brief relationship with Lily Mae, not a big. They weren't in a long-term type of thing. No, not married. They just had a brief relationship. Okay. She's also a woman from Whiteville, a couple years younger than Shar, and she had gone to the Washington, D.C. area, and this wasn't like a relationship. Neither of them were planning on, I hope he asked me to marry him or any of that shit. Right. Lily became pregnant. Now, Shar was already married at this point when he knocked up Lily here. He asked Lily to kindly, would you please have an abortion? That would just be a lot more convenient for me.
That would certainly solve a lot of problems.
That would solve a whole lot. And when you get to the end of this episode, you're going to go, you know what? Shar was right. Not to be a dick, but I think Shar had a point fucking in 1968.
$50 back then?
Yeah.
Jesus, it probably was a...
I mean, this when you hear the whole story, you're going to go, yeah, that's... Shar certainly had a point. So she didn't want to have an abortion. Obviously, she didn't have one, or we wouldn't be doing this episode. She moved back to Whiteville instead, and, he's born Jerrod in 1969, and her family is sharecroppers. That's how he comes up. This is what Shar said about the whole thing. Quote, I was not in favor of the pregnancy. Now, I have never heard it put that way. Have you? I wasn't in favor of the pregnancy. It's hilarious. That's what people say about, I wasn't in favor of moving to the next town or something. I was
against it.
I was against it. I was actively rooting against my sperm, but you know what? They defied me.
I came out against it.
It's not in favor of the pregnancy. Is hilarious. That's a very political answer.
I wasn't in favor of a couple either.
Sir, yeah. Sir, where do you stand on your mistress's pregnancy? I'm not in favor of it. That's all I'll say on the record. Senator.
I oppose.
I will oppose this with the full power of my office.
I'm lobbyists.
Wow. That's hilarious. I was not in favor of the pregnancy.
I voted down that bill.
The name of this episode is going to be Not in Favor of Pregnancy. It has to be. It has to be, because this is hilarious. So, and also, Jerrod will follow in his footsteps, as we'll find out. So,
oh, shit.
He says, quote, I was hostile, confused, anti-system, and trying to discover who I was. The last thing on my mind was a child. He was working as a bus driver for Greyhound at the time.
Okay.
Not thinking about knocking anybody up. He says, yeah, no shit. Jerrod said when he was a kid, he remembered in the summer picking tobacco and blueberries.
Oh, God.
He'd get picked up by a truck at 5 a.m. and drop back off at noon after picking tobacco and blueberries.
7 hours of that shit.
That's sharecropping. That's rough for very little money. He says, this is what Jerrod says here, quote, this wasn't something we wanted to do. It was a necessity and a way of life for his family and many others in the South. He said, so that's the way it was. A lot has changed in recent times, but turn back the clock 50 years, the South was a different world for African Americans.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. He says he lived there for 13 years, and he says that it's where he grew up in North Carolina, and he said he likes the gatherings and all that. They do big family reunions, so that's always fun, and everybody comes to a farm that they all go to, and yeah, so he leaves there after the 7th grade, though, goes to live in Maryland with his father and his stepmother.
Is that right?
Yeah, his dad. So Shar he's now in favor. Now that the kid's like 12, 13, I'm in favor of it now.
He's got to look this failed abortion in the eyes.
Yeah, he's got to go, son, I beg to have you eliminated, but here you are.
I was not in favor of you.
Not in favor of you. To see you standing before me now, still not a big fan, but we're going to make this work. He's got his dad and his stepmother, Gwen, which doesn't sound like a name of a lady who Shar would be married to.
No.
This is Gwen. Hi. She's like a blonde lady with big hair. That's what I picture. Maybe because that's the name of that church lady with the big blonde hair. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
The way down,
Yeah. Even though this whole thing, he had a problem. His mom was upset that he was leaving. His mom didn't want him to go live with his dad, so it was a problem there, and him and his mom were not getting along as well after that, but he always went back to go to the big family reunion there and know everybody. He says, quote, this is Jerrod, my father watched his grandfather call a 6-year-old Caucasian boy Mister when in public. This was very hard for my father to stomach and accept. My father went to an all-black school. They didn't have a football team. The sport of football didn't speak to African Americans. It was non-existent. My father experienced racism. My father's sister was raped by a white man, and there was nothing the family could do about it during that time and era in the South. So, yeah, it's tough. That's why a lot of people left the South, back then. That was a big deal. So, Shar, I guess Shar wasn't around for the first 7 years of Jerrod's life. He basically ignored him, never came. He wasn't in favor, as we know. So then once he started getting bigger, and once he was 13 and he was huge and people started looking at him for basketball, they're all like, oh, now you're interested in him. Now that he's 6'7" and fucking 13, you're interested in him. So Shar, during that time, while he was, not being with his son, Shar fathers 4 daughters by 4 different women.
Is that right?
Yeah. And they said that he showed basically no interest in them either. I mean, it wasn't like he was taking care of them. They didn't give a shit about them either.
Yeah. Feels like Shar's kind of a coxman.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, Shar gets around. Yeah, and we'll talk of Jerrod has a quote later on here pretty soon about what a kind of a smooth operator his dad was. His dad was like a cool, suave dude back in the early 70s. Yeah, he talks about he had like a cool fro and like the way he purported himself. Yeah, he's a bad motherfucker. So
sip brandy or some shit.
Yeah, sipping cognac and shit. Yeah, I think he was being cool and shit. So he's raised by his mom and stepfather for a while there, Jerrod.
Yeah,
but Shar gets back into his son's life, and his father saw him as, he said that his son would be a good part of to be for the Black Liberation Army. He'll be good for that. Yeah. And he said that basketball can help pay for that. So he was like, he can pay for political things with a basketball career because he's tall. So
that was his dad's basketball, and you will be the activist financialist.
That was his dad's kind of plan here in the beginning, which is a real long game you're playing for a 12-year-old.
Fuck.
So at 12, Jerrod spent a summer in Maryland with his father and went to a basketball camp run by a coach of a college team here.
Sure.
So a year later, his father got the mom to send him to Maryland permanently. Yeah. His mom was separated from Jerrod's stepfather, so there was some problems in the home life there. So the mother said, fine, you got a stable situation going on. That's fine. So when he got there, his dad was on strike from Greyhound when he got to Maryland.
Oh.
So he would just hang out with his dad walking picket lines when he first got there.
Oh, Jesus.
At 12. And Shar said that he would take his son to the union meetings to hear the speeches and everything.
Yeah.
And Shar said, quote, he was in training. He was being trained about the struggle. Maybe I shouldn't have done it, but I had in my mind what kind of son I wanted him to be. I wanted him to replace me. I wanted him to carry the torch. I never talked with him about basketball. He was in the battle line.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's
12.
called trying to live through vicariously through your son. I've chosen my son's path for him before he's even fucking knows what's going on is an asshole thing to do.
Yeah.
No matter how great of a path it is. If you said, I've chosen my son's path, I'm a Harvard alum and he's going to go here and then he's going to go. Doesn't matter. Maybe he doesn't want to do
Same
that.
thing.
It's the same shit. Yeah. It's not good. So his mother tried to get him to come back to North Carolina, Jerrod, not Shar, and she drove to Maryland with her mother, Jerrod's grandmother. He got in the car, but then jumped out and ran away. Didn't want to go back.
Is that right?
Yeah, didn't want to go back. He stayed. Yeah,
because I don't want a summer of picket lines.
Yeah. Well, no. He stayed in Maryland to be on the picket lines.
Oh, he did?
He didn't want to go back with his mom to North Carolina.
Mom picked him up to come home.
Yes, and he jumped out of the car and ran
Holy.
away. Wasn't interested in it. So he ends up having a complicated relationship with his mother like that from then on. They kind of grow apart. And his father and his stepmother become the people he's close to. His mother said, there was a time he could wrap me around his little finger. Now I don't think about him. I don't have a whole lot of feelings. I'm numb. I forgot I ever had a baby. The look on your face was amazing right there.
What?
You're like, I've never heard of that before.
Forgot I had a baby.
You hear women like that. Wow.
It's got to sting though that he chose picket lines over our life.
But it's not like I could see like if you gave the baby up when it was a baby or something, but you raised him for 12 years. How do you You should be. She just said, fuck that. Fuck him. I'm not interested. I'm not in favor. I've changed my mind. I changed my stance. I'm now not in favor of this pregnancy. Oh, man.
Wishing you could go in the way back and fix this.
Fix this shit.
She really understands the battle and the arguments about wanting to go find baby Hitler.
Yeah, she does. Wants to go, take him out, but you have to do it organized.
Yeah,
she knows.
I want to do mine also.
A lot of time machine stuff, yeah. How about me too?
Can we hit 69 before we get back to the 20s?
Have Dahmer stop here on his way back okay?
Get him another tender morsel.
We get it. Hitler first, but then on the way back, grab this guy, okay? So, Jesus, that's as good as when the one got thrown in the bad bin. The bad bin with him. I don't remember who that was. Olden Polonese? Yeah, Olden Polonese got thrown in the bad bin. So he stayed in Maryland, though, and he's off. And it's actually turns out to be a good move for him education-wise because there's more options in Maryland, and he's offered a scholarship for basketball to DeMatha, I guess is the name of it. It's a Catholic school. So
it's a high school, or is that a college?
It's a high school.
Yeah.
So, and that's a lot of these kids, basketball kids, if you've ever seen like Hoop Dreams and shit like that, the path is through these prep schools. A lot of times they're Catholic schools that have like these programs where they'll recruit basketball players because they're private schools. So they have more money.
There's tuition.
There's tuition, unless you're playing basketball well, and then you get scholarships and shit like that. So he got a scholarship to here, and these are college prep high schools. So you are in a much better position. This is where all of your NBA players used to come from. This was the path. It was here and then through college and then NBA. But now it's different. Now it's a whole other thing. Now there's videos, so you can see some kid that's 17, fucking dunking on people in some public school somewhere, and that he'll get interest. Different story. So he does all of that. His father insisted, though, even though he had a job or a scholarship, his father insisted that he also hold a job. So he demanded that Jerrod also work in the school kitchen as well, even though he had a scholarship and didn't have to work in the school kitchen. So Jerrod said, quote, people thought I was, Shar said, people thought I was crazy, but I wanted to set the stage. I wanted him to be a whole person. This sounds great in theory, and if we didn't know the results were so terrible, I'd say this is actually I like that he's instilling that
Yeah, giving them work ethic.
Yeah, and don't think you're special also.
Right.
You know what I mean? You think you're just because you're tall that you're better than everybody else? You can also wash some dishes. Hunch over that sink, tall man. You know? So
don't forget to sanitize that.
Yeah, fuck, man. So Jerrod said about his father, quote, this is good. He was like a true Black Panther. He said he never joined. So that's what I mean. When when your son describes you, the first sentence, like a true Black Panther, it's kind of you're there. You're like a true Black Panther. He had an afro, leather jacket, was the epitome of cool, and just so self-aware in the world we live in from an intellectual perspective. The conversations I had with him growing up when I visited him in Maryland made me realize I had to get out of Whiteville, North Carolina, and learn more about the outside world outside of the southern walls. Mm-hmm. So he ended up doing that, like we said. Jerrod ended up moving with his dad for a while to the New York, New Jersey area as well.
Really?
New York City area. And he said that he used to go to Harlem all the time to purchase books from people on the street because they would have all the political activism books, and that was a big deal. Jerrod said, quote, all the reading and talks with my father changed my perspective on life in the world. My father would cut out articles and I'd read the newspaper every morning. When I got home, there were more articles to read, and then he'd quiz me on all the current events. Okay. That's cool. The books that changed my world were Message to the Black Man by Elijah Muhammad and the autobiography of Malcolm X, written with Alex Haley, who wrote Roots.
Right.
The game changer for my father was the words, papers, and speeches of Malcolm X, which revolutionized the 60s movement and galvanized him and athletes like Muhammad Ali and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who were socially active in their own unique way. My father was able to dedicate himself to what he believed in for the last 25 years of his remarkable life on Earth.
Okay.
So he really keeps his father on a pedestal. You can hear it.
Yeah. And
in the words he chooses.
And the works that he's discussing are motivational and positive works. They don't represent his father as like a nuisance. I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for?
Well, I mean, we're not going to get into the fucking politics of the 60s because number one, we weren't there, and number two,
I don't know.
It's 60 years old, so it's pretty irrelevant at this point.
Yeah.
So.
It's nice. It's painting a picture of a happy childhood.
That's what I mean, where he respects his father. Yeah. He respects his father's intelligence. And the thing is, he sees Jerrod, unlike a lot of athletes that we talk about, sees intelligence as a commodity. Yes. He sees it as something that's important. It's not just like, man, fuck that shit. Can I dunk a book? Fuck it then. I don't care. Yeah. Oh, well, we see that all the time with these guys. I don't fucking care about that. That's not going to help me. I'm a basketball player. I'm a boxer. Or I'm whatever the fuck. So
can't run fast by reading War and Peace.
Yeah, that doesn't help me at all. Right. Jerrod recalls, quote, he says this, growing up in North Carolina, the UNC Tar Heels was my favorite college team, and they just won the NCAA National Championship versus the University of Georgetown. He said, my mother bought me a whole bunch of UNC Tar Heels apparel, and I was repping my Carolina baby blue with pride. Here I am getting off the Greyhound bus, and my father takes one look at me and says, you're going to take that off. He sat me down and gave me a full lecture around the history of the state of North Carolina. He broke it down layer by layer from Senator Jesse Helms, who brought aggressiveness to his conservatism and used racially charged language in his campaigns. That's an understatement. He then shared the history of Basketball Hall of Famer Charlie Scott being the first UNC African-American athlete on scholarship and the politics prior to that.
Have you ever gotten a message out of the blue? Maybe you ignore them. Or maybe you end up in conversation. Maybe they tell you about an amazing offer. I can really show you how to make some money. And maybe that gets you into a lot of trouble. But this isn't a story about people like you, the people receiving these messages. This is a story about the people behind the messages, on the other end of the line. Thousands of them, working in a microcity built for scammers. From Wondery, the makers of Dr. Death and Kill List, comes Scam Factory, a new series about survival at the expense of others. Follow Scam Factory on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Scam Factory early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
He was hip-hop's biggest mogul, the man who redefined fame, fortune, and the music industry.
The first male rapper to be honored on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Sean Diddy Combs.
Diddy built an empire and lived a life most people only dream about.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But just as quickly as his empire rose, it came crashing down.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. I'm disgusted. I'm so sorry.
Until you're wearing an orange jumpsuit, it's not real. Now it's real.
From his meteoric rise to his shocking fall from grace, from law and crime, this is the rise and fall of Diddy. Listen to the rise and fall of Diddy exclusively with Wondery Plus.
The final point was more subjective because he made it clear that thanks to UNC, John Thompson, the coach of Georgetown there for a long time, missed out on being the first African-American head coach to win the NCAA national championship that year. Well, that's just a game, though, that they lost.
Right,
that's not
you don't get awarded that.
Well, there was no there was no they didn't no ambulance ran by him. That's just
Right.
Guys played a game and that team lost, so it's not.
And he wasn't even on the fucking court.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So can't blame somebody for that. The dissertation was not to belittle me, but to open my eyes and my mind to the purpose of supporting a brand versus wearing it because it's cool or to be like others in my area who are sporting it, which is a good thing to tell your kid.
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah.
Look at what's behind shit. Don't just look at, oh, that's cool because my friend wears it or because those, yeah.
That might represent a trophy, but it also, to me, because I grew up there and I've seen some bad shit, the words North Carolina represent something else.
Yeah, and that's fine. Well, it's good to look into
fair.
shit. We'll look into your brand, and that's, don't like them. They support this, and they supported that. Or they went to, after World War II, it was don't buy this because they supported Hitler, you know what I mean? Shit like that.
It's Balenciaga or whatever the fuck that
yeah,
shit is.
Yeah. I don't know the name of it either. Shit I can't afford.
Shit I wouldn't buy anyway.
I was going to say, and wouldn't buy it no matter what anyway, because I don't even know how to fucking pronounce it. So I wouldn't know where to look for it, how to find it.
I don't know where the fuck that is. I don't know if it has a store.
No, I don't go to stores like that.
God, no.
I don't go to stores like that.
Is it on Amazon? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. Fucking, I don't know. And
again, there's another one.
Is there a mall that sells that? Can I find that? Like, if I can't get it on Amazon, is there a mall that I can get that in?
There are all these brands. Everything sucks, all right?
It seems like one of those stores you'd pass by and you'd go, I don't want to go in there.
Oh,
like, it's
God.
Like
it's one of those stores that has like 12 things, and you're like, how do they afford rent?
Yeah.
Right?
You go, is that a furniture store that sells like 4 shirts? What's in there? There's a lot of couches and shit, but I see like 8 hangers.
How do they afford their rent? Is one shirt pays their rent? Is that what you're saying?
We did that one day in L.A. We walked up and down, and we were just like, how is this a store? What is going on in there?
Yeah, you've got 11 things.
There's 11 shirts and like 5 tall blonde models standing around that all work there to look at 11 shirts, and there's nobody in there shopping. How the fuck is this a store?
And I've never pay these people.
Yeah, it's not like a big brand I've heard of, and that's theirs. I've never even heard of these fucking brands, too. I'm like, what's happening? So
this feels like a front.
The scary part is one of those shirts, if they sell one of those every 3 days, they can pay the rent because they're so goddamn expensive. Jesus. That's how expensive these fucking shirts are. So he talks about that. And later on, though, the funny part is this is when he's like 13, 14. Mm-hmm. When he starts getting recruited for colleges, there's Dean Smith sitting in his living room after that, which is funny. So the Jerrod wanted to be in the ACC, that conference in college basketball, because he knew all the teams and watched the games, and that's where he's from and shit, and it's close to home. And so he wanted to do that. He wanted to either go to D.C. or Atlanta. He said that both cities were progressive cities for African Americans. Yeah. They were historic civil rights movements in the state of Georgia. He said, I loved the head coach of Georgia Tech, Bobby Cremins, and personally knew a lot of the players on the team. But the University of Maryland became a big deal there because, he got a lot of local pressure to go there.
Yeah.
I think that's what happens a lot of times. He said he found himself playing with him and his friends would be playing at the University of Maryland gymnasium because the coach gave them access to it.
Oh,
so
nice.
he ended up talking to people like Adrian Branch and Len Bias.
Oh, wow.
He met before he died, obviously.
Yeah.
He says, Jerrod said, quote, being around those guys made me realize how much harder I had to work to achieve the talent and success of those University of Maryland basketball elites. On the flip side, playing against them gave me the confidence to compete against the teens my age with no problem. Well, yeah.
How about that?
If you're 13 and you have Len Bias dunking on you, it's going to seem a lot easier to play. You have the number 1 draft pick dunking on you. It's going to be easier.
Right. It's going to be
Probably.
much easier to dunk on the paper boy.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit easier. So colleges started recruiting him. His father devised a questionnaire for the colleges.
Is that right?
Flip the process. Yeah, flip the script, which is, I've heard of a lot of athletes doing that, and teams usually like that, actually.
Yeah.
They like, because I heard that was what Peyton Manning did.
Is that right?
When he was doing all
he
the
interviewed them.
Interviews, when he sat down with the Colts said they had talked to a bunch of guys, and he asked them all these questions. It's an interview. Right. He said Peyton Manning sits down, opens up a briefcase. None of these players had a fucking briefcase. So he opens up a briefcase, takes out a notebook, and starts grilling them. And you only have 15 minutes with the players.
Yeah.
He said the whole 15 minutes was him asking us questions. We never asked him one question.
Wow.
He said it was all him interviewing us. And then it was like, all right, thank you, bye. And we're like,
fascinating.
Okay. That was weird. So they like that kind of shit, though. They had to list in this questionnaire the number of black people in the athletic department and the number of black coaches and black faculty members, the amount of business the university did with black people and black businesses, et cetera. So they ended up picking Maryland. They have a black head coach in Bob Wade. And they said, quote, during the recruitment process, I had the pleasure of meeting John Slaughter, who was the first African-American chancellor in the ACC with the University of Maryland. The other piece to the puzzle was the relationship and respect my family had with the University of Maryland head coach, Bob Wade. So he said he liked Bob Wade. He was kind of an inner city guy and, down-to-earth guy that could relate to the players and they liked him. He had put together high school teams from 1981 to 83 that went 60-0.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's how. He's a good coach. He also had Muggsy Bogues and David Wingate and Reggie Lewis and a bunch of players coming through.
David Wingate and Bogues played together in college?
No, this is over the high school. This is over
in high school. Is
over
that
2-year period, yeah. So he also said, quote, as an added bonus, my parents built a rapport with Bob and his wife. From a socially conscious side, I was talking to the University of Maryland about allowing a group of students from the inner city to come to the games. This was especially for the kids that couldn't financially afford to attend the games but loved hoops. So he went there just as much for kind of the social and political aspect of it than basketball. You know what I'm saying? So, which, again, these are all things we would say normally this is good.
It seems like a great choice.
It's unlike normally our athletes are like, I hear the girls got the biggest tits at that school, and then they go there. Literally. I went there because I heard they had the most booze and the biggest tits and the loosest pussies. You know what I mean? Like, I look for a loose one. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I want a real loose one I could dive on into. That's what I like. Call me weird. The people, they call me weird. My friends don't get it, but you know what I'm about.
Yeah.
So he says he goes to Maryland. And then after a minute, while he's a freshman, it's already in the newspaper in the Baltimore Sun, quote, freshman's father says son may consider transfer.
Oh, really?
Already, yeah. At the end of the first season, they said there's mistrust among members of the University of Maryland basketball team, and that's what compounded their problems on the court. Mustaf said he wouldn't name the individuals or cite examples, but said, quote, when guys are talking behind people's backs, when it comes down to who's saying this or who's saying that, you can't really be together.
Why would there be any sort
acrimony
of gossip at all?
I don't know.
Care?
Well, that's the thing of it doesn't matter because that's usually where the coach steps in and goes and fucking deads that shit.
Fuck up.
That's his job to keep all of these.
Absolutely.
The X's and O's or whatever. I mean, that's important in college basketball. But most of the time in most sports, the head coach's main job is to keep people's heads out of their asses. That's their job.
Herding children, not hurting. Keeping them in a
motivating. keeping them in a direction together,
Right.
squashing beefs,
Good
and
Lord.
that's what their job is a lot. It's a babysitter almost. So apparently there's a huge problem with them. They sucked this year. They went 8-19 when they went into they were just awful, basically. They were terrible. They were losing in tournaments, not doing well here. So they said Mustaf, or there's a senior guard as well. They don't know if they're going to play in this tournament game. Mustaf has a bruised right knee, and he's limping around. He said, I've had injuries before, but nothing this major. I'm not going to risk further damage. I've got a future to worry about.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bruised knee. It's not a ligament or anything like that. Yeah, it's one of those things where, if you can play through it, you play through it. But if he's considering transferring anyway, he's, not going to kill myself for this team. Yeah. So they were wondering whether he'll be, if he's going to be here. His father has said he said in the USA Today, he told people that he was planning on talking. His dad said he was planning on talking with the Maryland athletic director about a lack of support for the program from the administration, and that maybe his son will transfer, which is fucking interesting. His dad said, quote, right now, we don't know what to expect, but the least the administration can do, in my mind, is to give the guys some more support. Okay? So he's, by the way, a bailiff, his dad, at the Prince George's County Courthouse at the moment.
Is that right?
Yeah, so that's what he's doing.
He has run some wild jobs.
Yeah, he always was working, though. He's always finding some way to make ends meet. He said, quote, I would say that depends on what the athletic director tells us, whether he stays here or not. I'm not trying to run Bob Wade's team. I'm not trying to direct Mr. Perkins' administration. Let's say he, meaning the athletic director, Perkins, decides to fire Bob Wade. We would definitely evaluate the situation and talk with him about the firing. Jerrod chose a school in an area of the country he wanted to play in, but he also chose to play for a coach. Jerrod said, I can't base my whole decision on whether Coach Wade is here or not. He might get a better job and leave. Sounds like they don't really care if the coach is there.
They're not fans.
Yeah, I guess there was an internal review by the university, and they were talking about possible recruiting violations among members of the coaching staff, and that's where it's all came from. And Jerrod said, you can't just have these kinds of distractions. I'd hate to play under conditions like these again. So, yeah, that's
it's a mess.
That's interesting.
That's not good.
Now, if he doesn't want to do this, there is an ad in the newspaper right below it for something better. So if you're in North Carolina in 1989 or so, and you're not liking what your college head coach is doing and you're not caring for the program, you can become a crime fighter in a matter of weeks.
Hey!
Yeah, that's a great thing. You can train for an exciting career in private security and investigation. Courses include weapons certification, baton.
Oh.
Cool. But here's how to beat somebody with a stick. Search and seizure, powers of arrest, first aid and CPR, and self-defense. High school diploma not required.
You can be
Come
the
on
dumbest
in.
motherfucker on the planet.
Dumb fuck, take this stick and we'll show you how to hit someone over the head with it, dummy. Come on. This is awesome.
You useless son of a bitch.
You
Get
useless fuck. Call the Barkley Career School today. Financial aid available. So sign up for that if you're, I don't know, looking to.
Useless piece of shit.
If you're looking to not be able to get a job, but pay a lot of money for nothing. So that year, let's talk about on the court here. Jerrod, he ends up playing 32.6 minutes a game, which is a lot. So, I mean, right away, as a freshman, they throw him right into the fire here. I mean, that's a starter playing heavy minutes. 14.3 points, 7.8 rebounds a game, which, hey, this is a freshman. He's a freshman playing in the ACC, too, so he's playing against big competition and, you know.
Real players.
Yeah, top guys, top schools. They're playing against UNC and, you know, things like that. Also, he's a little distracted that year as well. Well, he had a little bit of an incident here.
Oh, God.
In which he's involved in what's described as a, quote, physical confrontation with his girlfriend in a dormitory.
What?
That's not great. According to a former Maryland official, Mustaf's father told him that the girlfriend was pregnant and told the official, and that he had interceded and convinced the woman and her family that, obviously, an abortion would be for the best. He said, excuse me, I'm not in favor of this pregnancy. I don't know how you feel about it, but
I want to quote my father.
I'm not in favor of it, which is fucking hilarious. Mustaf's father convinced everyone that.
Is that right?
Yeah. Now, Jerrod says he acknowledges, quote, shaking the woman.
What?
He's like, I just shook her up good. That's what he said, which is a Chris Rock joke from years ago. And
it's real.
And it's real. He said he didn't know she was pregnant at the time. His father denied there was a pregnancy after that, even though he told the University of Maryland official about this whole story, and this official talked about it later on. He said, though, he did meet with the girl's mother. Why would you meet with the girl's mother, who your son's just kind of banging at school? Why would you meet with her mother if there was no pregnancy? So ridiculous. Yeah. Jerrod later said, quote, I've had all kinds of problems with women. I've seen women try all types of things.
Wow.
Yeah. One of them later is dying. He's seen a woman try. It's just interesting. That's a new approach. Now, 89-90, he plays in 33 games, 31.8 minutes a game, 18.5 points now, 7.7 rebounds. So doing very well. He says, in college, I had no issue with speaking up or being an advocate for the student athletes. As a family, we received hate mail and have been called a racist family. The media stayed all over us to ask questions that would lead to more stories and the controversy around whatever we stood for. So, yeah, he said the university wasn't protecting him in that. He said, a lot of times what we shared was taken out of context by the writers. My time at the University of Maryland became very political, and while I had great success my sophomore year, I gave up my final 2 years of eligibility and entered the NBA draft in 1990.
Is that right?
Yep. So
he came out early, huh?
Oh, yeah, way early. I mean, way fucking early, because he was going to have to transfer otherwise. The school was just kind of tired of dealing with him. So he was leaving college in 90. Jerrod and his father created the nonprofit program, quote, Take Charge Juvenile Diversion Program, Inc. Okay. Short, they call it the Take Charge Program, which is still around, I guess, years later. The program was founded as a diversion program where they took inner city kids from the court systems and detention centers and enrolled them in the program, to try to do better for them. The program, I guess, later on evolved into centering around youth resistance to avoid negative behaviors and actions by, don't sell drugs, that shit. Right. So anyway, Jerrod said, quote, the public schools might not have the background with behavior and social concerns. Our program allows the public schools to focus on the educational layers where we handle the other social and life skills component. To incorporate sports, we use basketball to complement the program and engage the youth enrolled. Each year, the number of students that don't go to class or get discouraged from being cut from the basketball team is a real thing. It's one of the main reasons I created the basketball component to my Take Charge program, to provide hope and a second chance for all.
Yeah.
Jerrod's a real conscientious guy, isn't he?
Yeah. It's a clever pun, too. I like the wordplay of taking the charge.
Taking the charge. Yeah, it's all basketball and all. It's good. It's good. And he also will shake you. So now.
She took the charge.
She took the charge. And I don't know if she had the kid, but she took the charge. So the draft is June 27th, 1990. Here it is in New York. First player, 1990 draft, Jimmie, number 1 overall. He's an alumni, as a matter of fact. He is a crime and sports alum.
In 1990? Is it?
Absolutely.
Is it Witherspoon? I don't know.
No, we never said Witherspoon.
What was the other one? Chris? Wow, what was his
Derek
name?
Coleman is number 1 overall.
Was it DC?
It was DC, wearing his BKs and everything.
Yeah.
DC and his BKs.
Yep. Oh, to the Clippers.
To the Nets.
Oh, it was the Nets.
He was the Nets, yeah. Number 2 overall. Hall of Famer.
Behind DC?
Hall of Famer. Gary Payton, baby. You're close.
Oh, I was close.
Gary Payton. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, number 3.
Is that right?
Dennis Scott, number 4. Kendall Gill, Felton Spencer. Who else? Ramil Robinson. Jesus, these names from the past.
The Nets, too.
Yeah, Lloyd. No, he's Atlanta. He was on Atlanta.
Loy
Vaught. I remember him on the Clippers there. Yeah. Jesus. D. Brown's in that draft, 19 overall.
Is that 19?
Yep. Jason Williams, the one we've also done the episode on. Big, tall Jason there. He's number 21 overall. A lot of guys in this draft. Eldon Campbell, number 27 overall. But number 17 overall by the New York Knicks choose Jerrod Mustaf, number 17 overall. Could have had D. Brown or even Jason Williams, who was a better player. Jason Williams.
They picked Jerrod Mustaf, number 17.
Mustaf, number 7. It's a weak draft. It really is.
Yeah, but
it's a weak draft.
At 17?
Look at the draft outside of Coleman and Payton, and Abdul Rauf was a pretty goddamn good player, too. Dennis Scott's a fucking, he's barely a starter. He's a sixth man, Dennis Scott. He's a great three-point and shooting sixth man, but there is not a lot of good in this draft. There really isn't, especially
was in that draft too.
I'm looking at big men too.
Oh God,
it's not a lot for big power forwards. So he's got a lot of. They look at him as all potential too. Mm-hmm. He's only 20 years old,
right?
Young guy, skinny, but doing something. And the Knicks at this point didn't need him to be a starter.
No,
this is when they got Charles Oakley. They just got Oakley. They had Xavier McDaniel at this point. Patrick Ewing. He's going into a bunch of. These are a bunch of tough. These are men.
Angry.
A bunch of big, tough men is what he's going into.
He's going into a bar where there will be a bar fight, and he will not have to throw a punch.
No, they will win quickly because these guys are huge, all of them. So he's drafted there, and he's very excited. Obviously, Now he's going to be on the fucking roster and on the Knicks, too. So there's
New York.
First-round draft pick on the Knicks back then, too. You are under the microscope, baby. This is big time under the microscope. And the Knicks sucked at this point. They were 39-43 here, which also got them into the playoffs somehow.
Is that right?
Under 500.
Well, the East was pretty weak.
Everybody goes to the playoffs in the NBA, unless you're basically if you're around 500, you got a pretty good shot of going to the playoffs.
Now it's worse, James.
It's way worse.
So much.
It's so stupid.
That play-in is so dumb.
I hate that shit too.
If you don't have the record, you don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, how many more teams? How about we just say have the regular season, then go? Never mind that.
Let's try again.
And we'll just have a tournament, but with all the teams. You don't even make the tournament. Just the worst team in the league could win it all. Who cares? Fuck it.
Just have the commissioner pick his favorite players that are the face of the league.
Have those lottery balls.
Just
have those lottery balls come up. We'll do that. It doesn't matter.
Skip all of it. Just pick the ones you want in the playoffs. We get it. Some teams generate more money than others. Just have them. This is fucking stupid. We get it. It's a business. I'm on board.
Or I'm not on board, but at least I'll understand that you're being honest.
Yeah, just stop lying to me.
So the Knicks get swept by the Bulls in the first round of the playoffs that year. That was the beginning of Michael Jordan really taking over everything. So this is the team, Maurice Cheeks, Patrick Ewing, Greg Grant, Stuart Gray, Mark Jackson on this team.
Yeah.
Charles Oakley, John Starks. Man, there's some talkers on this team. Starks, fucking.
This is a mouthy bunch.
Starks, Jackson. You got Oakley to back that shit up. Kenny Walker with his high and tight, big old fucking eraser cut. Gerald Wilkins, who we'll do an episode on. That's Dominique's brother, who got arrested 4 times in a week a couple of years ago, which I didn't even think was possible.
Is that right?
He pulled it off 4 times in 1 week. That was wild.
He played for the Hawks too, didn't he?
Yes, for a while. Yeah, a little while. Kiki Vanderway, I remember him. He was very good. So Trent Tucker on this team. That's why they needed power forwards. I mean, they had Mustaf and Charles Oakley. Those are their power forwards. Everybody else are small forwards and shit. So they needed size right now. That year, he plays in 62 games, only starts 5, and doesn't do all that well, let's just say. 4.3 points a game and 2.7 rebounds, but he's a kid, and that's what they expect from him at this point. So they're all right with that. They're fine. He said, quote, "I was by far one of the youngest rookies coming into the league that was filled with nothing but grown men."
Could you imagine?
That's so true, too.
Oh. Yeah, and that league it's not.
They were men.
It was men.
Those guys. I mean, you
Bill
see
Laimbeer
guys
was forearm shivering folks coming in the lane,
and he was a pussy. That's the thing. He wasn't even
a bitch.
He wasn't even tough. Yeah,
the man wore a mask.
Yeah, I mean, there was guys in that league that will fuck your world up. Go fucking step to Daryl Dawkins. I dare you. You know what I mean? People. There was some men, and back then now the league is there's a shitload of people that are under 22 in the league now. Right. Shitload. So there's people there's people that are young. It's all kind of built toward the younger players. Back then, I mean, it was rare for someone to come out of school early or directly to high school. So I mean, you were
36-year-old men.
Yeah, you got to fucking you're in practice. You're going up against Charles Oakley.
Right.
Charles Oakley,
who's 29 and has a mortgage.
And is a man. He owns 40 suits. You know what I mean? You don't even have one. He owns 40 suits and will kick your fucking ass because he has mouths to feed, goddammit.
He shops for cufflinks, motherfucker.
My wife just bought expensive lawn furniture. You understand? You're not taking my job. But that's what's on a man's mind as opposed to a child.
This bitch has got patio furniture, and I like Ashley furniture.
That's right.
I can't afford the shit she likes, so you better man up.
Both my kids got crooked-ass teeth. There's going to be braces going on those motherfuckers, so guess what? I'm going to elbow you in the face when that rebound comes down. Wow. He said, quote, present day in the NBA, even if you enter the league at 19, there's a good chance you played against most of the stars that are 25 years old and considered NBA vets. When I joined the Knicks, I played with Maurice Cheeks, who won a championship in Philly in the early 80s with Dr. J and Moses Malone.
Mo Cheeks won a championship that long ago.
Kiki Vanderway, who was a tremendous veteran and scorer whose basketball camp I attended when I was a kid. So
what? He went to Kiki's? Wow.
Yeah, and there was the big man Patrick Ewing, who I knew very well from watching the epic clash between Georgetown and UNC. Ewing was a giant star in the ACC. One of my greatest teammates of all time was Charles Oakley.
Yeah.
He brought his blue-collar mentality to the hardwood every single night, and his role was the reverse of the quintessential superstar. His job, quite simply, was to make the superstars better. Oak made sacrifices to make Patrick Ewing's life easier and was a trade-off because there were things that Patrick did to back Oak on the hardwood as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you had those guys. I mean, Ewing was scoring, and Oakley had to be, hey, if you fuck with my man, I'm going to knock you out. That was the way it was. So
Oakley was his job to save Ewing's knees?
It was just to be, well, he's a great rebounder. Charles Oakley was a really good rebounder when he was with the Bulls before this and in his heyday. So they brought him over to rebound and to be a tough guy inside and to take some of the physicality off of Ewing.
Right.
7-footers like that are it's a lot on their bodies.
Ewing may not have played as long as he did without Oakley.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, Oakley would have. Guys like that extend a center's career. If they don't have to do quite as much banging around inside, that adds up over time.
How about that?
So he said that he could shoot better and outplay certain bench stars that he'd match up with as a rookie. But when he'd check into the game, the perception of what played out in his head didn't match the reality of the court, is what he said. He
said, like I did great, but the stat line signs suck.
I'd look at the video, I'd be like, wow, that guy blocked me. That sucked. I tried. He said, I'd get into games and night in and night out, I found myself being matched up against grown men that had no sympathy for rookies. They know their role, know their position, and embody the expression of a pro's pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, these guys they had jobs and families to support. That's why. Like you said, I have a mortgage. You're thinking about...
This is real life, babe.
Yeah. I don't have time to even think about politics because I got to fucking pay for that lawn furniture. Feel me? When I'm done with basketball, I'll worry about politics. Right now, I got to make money.
My wife bought me a new grill with my money.
With my money, damn it, for Father's Day. So he said that it was just... I mean, shit, you go to Boston and you'd have to deal with Bird and McHale, and you go to Dominique Wilkins playing their three, and then Karl Malone you'd be banging against in Utah, and John Stockton running pick and rolls all over you as a kid trying to figure that out. It was hard. He said a lot of guys, too, even guys that were old and over the hill like Moses Malone, he said you couldn't deal with the guy. He was a big guy. He said, and his basketball IQ and all this type of shit, like they just knew tricks. You couldn't fuck with them. They'd destroy you. So, he said that, quote, it takes time to understand the discipline, find your niche, master your timing, and be aligned with the right opportunity and coach. Yeah, that's true.
That's the luck, yeah.
That's the luck. So he ends up, it's hard for him. He's got to figure out something to do. His mind isn't in a great place because he just gets shit on and stomped on by these bigger, tougher, stronger, more motivated, experienced people that he just doesn't know what to do with. And so he's, got to find shit to do. And he said, quote, I'll never forget as a Knick, Coach Stu Jackson telling me in a direct and serious tone, quote, you don't shoot jumpers. And from that point forward, it made me hesitate and overthink the idea of taking jump shots because you're a big man, he's telling him, which was second nature to me my whole life. When a coach believes in you, that holds a lot of weight for your confidence and approach to the game. And he didn't feel like he was believed in very much there. Yeah. He makes $565,000, though, and I believe in that. It feels
like they believe in him.
I believe in. I'm in favor of that. Yeah. So he is traded, though, right after the season, or right before the next season. So October 1st, 1991, he's traded with Trent Tucker and a second-round draft pick to the Phoenix Suns.
Is that
for Xavier McDaniel? They got they wanted a tough guy, and they went out and got a guy. So, so he goes to the Suns, and this is what we've talked about. This is the team from the 91 to like 95. There is, you could do a whole Crime and Sports starting lineup. You really could.
They're all dickheads.
It's wild. And that was the team we grew up loving. So, here we are.
Everybody believed they were just model human beings.
Well, because that's what ownership would say. Yeah. We only hire model human beings. Well, 5 of your guys are going to be on a show where 2 guys make fun of criminal athletes and all that. They're good, upstanding people, and that's who we fucking employ. Oh, okay. I guess they only employ good. And everybody writes that down. They only employ good, outstanding people. So,
meanwhile, that guy's kind of a dick too, I imagine, right? He's got to be.
Who knows? Probably he would have to be, I would assume. You own multiple sports teams. You had
you can't be.
Someone's bleeding from the asshole, right? Am I wrong? There's a trail behind someone of fucking
those
spit, lube, and blood.
Far too lucrative.
Far too. So 91-92 Suns, Cotton Fitzsimmons, the coach there.
Yep.
They're 53-29, which is pretty damn good. They go to the playoffs. They sweep the Spurs in the first round, 3-0. Lose to the Trailblazers, though, who would go on to the finals, losing to the Bulls that year in 5.
Drexler was great.
That year, you had Ced Sabalas, Tom Chambers, Jeff Hornacek, Kevin Johnson, Andrew Lang, Dan Marley, Mustaf, Neely, Tim Perry, Kurt Rambis, and Mark West. Kurt Rambis. So it's tough because this year you have Tom Chambers in front of you at power forward, and then Charles Barkley comes in next year, and you have Chambers and Barkley in front of you at power forward. What do you do with that,
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel. Well, good. Now put it down. We're going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles.
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud.
Sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
Behind the closed doors of government offices and military compounds, there are hidden stories and buried secrets from the darkest corners of history. From covert experiments pushing the boundaries of science to operations so secretive they were barely whispered about. Each week, on Redacted, Declassified Mysteries, we pull back the curtain on these hidden histories. 100% true and verifiable stories that expose the shadowy underbelly of power. Consider Operation Paperclip, where former Nazi scientists were brought to America after World War II, not as prisoners, but as assets to advance U.S. intelligence during the Cold War. These aren't just old conspiracy theories. They're thoroughly investigated accounts that reveal the uncomfortable truths still shaping our world today. The stories are real. The secrets are shocking. Follow Redacted, Declassified Mysteries on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Redacted early and ad-free right now on Wondery Plus.
So that year, he plays in 52 games, only starts 3. He only 10.5 minutes per game, too.
Yeah.
Not playing a lot.
Much.
4.5 points and 2.8 total rebounds. So
is that not the best position to be in if you are an inferior power forward in the NBA, though? You know what I mean?
Well, if you're a young player, it's good because you don't have to, but you're not getting a lot of experience, but you can kind of learn from the bench.
On the floor, yeah.
Yeah.
You're getting the up close personal visual, and you're much more talented athletically than anybody else that's watching, so it's great as a tutorial.
Anybody else that's watching.
Yeah.
And if all of us, all 20,000 of us that are in this building, I'm better than all of you.
Yeah. I'm the best one watching this game.
Best spectator going here. So he said, quote, while the Take Charge program represents my hometown on the East Coast, I had something unique out west back in the 90s. On the West Coast, during my playing career in Phoenix, I opened a black bookstore that became the meeting spot and melting pot of the community. Throughout my career, I had 2 entities that were near and dear to me between the store and the West Coast and the Take Charge program I'd return to in the off-season back east.
Okay.
So There isn't a lot of black anything in Phoenix. I'll be honest with you. There's it's just not a lot. So
when they do exist, it feels out of place.
When they do exist. Well, I've known a lot of black people in Phoenix, and I go, "Why do you live here? It's hot.
It's that
the sun is against you. You know that, right?"
And the sun feels like everybody.
And every black guy I know it's fucking terrible. The sun's against me. This sucks.
Yeah.
I know. I don't like it. I can't imagine the way you feel.
I had a friend at school he'd said, "At least you can take your black shirt off." He's like, "This is awful.
It's hot."
I get it, man. I'm so sorry.
So 92-93 Suns, this is when everything changed. This is when they moved into the new building that they still play in today. At the time, it was America West Arena. This is when they got Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
This is when they just exploded as a national thing.
Finally gave a shit about them.
Yeah. People, at this point, people had their cars painted in sun shit. Remember, all the businesses would have big Suns murals on their shit. You couldn't drive down like 7th Street without seeing everything Suns as you drove.
And they made the logo so copyable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was. It's easy to draw.
So easy. Yeah, kids were fucking etching it on their backpack. It was so easy to draw it. It's
easy.
All these straight lines made it super easy.
So they go 62-20 that year, and they were pretty goddamn. I was at the first game of that season, the first exhibition game of that season.
Oh.
First game with Barkley, first game in that arena. I was at that game. That year they beat the Lakers in 5 in the first round of the playoffs, beat the Spurs in 6 in the second round of the playoffs. Then this was a good series too. That Seattle series, that was a great fucking series. It goes all 7. It was wild. I think Barkley, if I recall, had an amazing Game 7. He had like 40-something points and 20 rebounds or some shit. And then they go against the Bulls, and we've talked about this one before. That's heartbreaker of all heartbreakers. I can still see Paxson's fucking shot floating through the air, and I still don't want it to go in. I still want it to admit it's going to go in every time, and I hate it.
And the announcer said, as long as Paxson doesn't get open, this game should be over. And wide open.
Wide open. And the coaches said, whatever you do, just don't leave him open.
Yeah,
out there in that area. Thanks, guys.
About a 45-degree angle to the hoop. Don't leave him there.
That was brutal. It was brutal. So they beat the Suns, the Bulls beat the Suns, and Jerrod says, quote, I remember chatting with Scott Williams of the Bulls, and he asked me, why aren't you playing? I know you can play. I've seen you in college. Why aren't you playing?
Hey, I'm sorry you lost, but why didn't you play?
Why don't they let you play at all? He said, on the Suns, there was a pecking order, and it started with the best player on the team, Charles Barkley, being the number one guy. And then as a position player, they had a true seasoned veteran in Tom Chambers backing him up, and I would just watch from the bench waiting for my turn. Yeah. Those are both, you have a top 2 player in the league at that point, with Barkley and Jordan were the 2 top players in the league. And then you have Tom Chambers, who's a very good, serviceable guy.
He's a top 10 son of all time.
Yeah, and he's a starter. If Barkley's not on the team, they're happy to start him. So, yeah, this was they had a lot more going. Oh yeah, Oliver Miller on the team this year. More criminals joining the team this year. Very good. Barkley, everybody.
Was Hot Rod Williams on the team too that year?
Not yet. He didn't come.
No.
I think to like 94 or 95. Hot Rod came.
But they had Ainge and
they had
Marley.
Ainge and they had both the Johnson brothers there. Not that they're brothers, but Kevin and Frank. Kevin and Frank and Dan Marley
I think Ainge is the reason Paxson got open, right? He left him open?
I'm not. I can't. I
can't remember. But
I'd love to blame Danny
Ainge.
Ainge
Fucking
for
guy.
I can't name him for that. Yeah, who else would he be covering?
It's either him or Dan Marley.
If I'm looking at the whole floor and I see those two, I go, well, clearly you're covering him.
Yeah, that's your guy.
Get the short white guy, because that's who you are. So that year, though, he scored 4.3 and 4.5 points a season. This year, he scores 4.6.
Oh, so, really getting after it.
Breaking out, buddy. Breaking out 2.6 rebounds a game. I'm going to say it right now. Grace. Let's say Grace. That is Grace.
I mean,
he went to the finals, so he was around. He participated in a parade.
He sure in the fuck did.
He did.
The biggest parade in Phoenix history. He was part of it.
He was part of that. The loser parade. He's part of that. It's 115 outside. Let's watch the team that just lost drive down the street slowly in the pounding sun.
In 1992.
In the pounding sun. Let's do that.
Where it will commence downtown, or commence, that's where it starts. It will finish, wrap up at the building, on the steps in downtown Phoenix, where all the heat is trapped.
All the heat is concentrated and reflected back from the earth.
Right into Dan Marley's white face.
Oh, man. Danny Ainge squinting. He was squinting a lot probably that day.
Fuck yeah, he was.
I can't see nothing. I can't
when
see.
When I blink, all I see is Paxson shooting.
Oh. Every time I blink, I just see Jerrod Mustaf doing nothing on the bench. I don't know what's burned into my eyeballs. So the summer of 1993, Jerrod should be having a good time. If you were a Phoenix Sun, even a bench player with 4 points a game, if you were a Phoenix Sun in the summer of 1993, you could walk into a business, grab the owner's daughter, dip her down, stick your tongue down her throat, pop her up, punch him in the face, grab whatever merchandise you want, and say, "See you later." And they go, "Thanks for coming in," as they put a fucking cloth over their nose. "Appreciate it. Please come back again soon. There was a Sun in here."
You can whisper, "You're welcome," and leave.
Yeah, and leave. And they go, "Can we get you your change, sir?" You were a god in Phoenix at that time.
Yeah.
So there's a woman named Althea Hayes, okay? And to give you that Jerrod is involved with, Althea Hayes. Yeah. Now, there's also a guy named Levani Wooten. Now, Levani Wooten is, I think it's like a cousin of his, or like one of those type of deals, partial cousin or something. Mm-hmm. Mustaf invites him to come with him to Phoenix on the advice of his father, by the way. Yeah. Jerrod's dad told him to do this and work for him in 1991 because he had the bookstore. He also had a music business and all this type of shit.
Sure.
Althea Hayes wants to be a singer. That's how she and Jerrod meet. She's trying to be a singer. He's got like a record label or whatever. So there they go. Yeah, who knows? So Althea Hayes wants to work at the shop because she heard that Mustaf owns not just the bookstore, but also a talent agency.
Okay.
So she wants to hook up with him. She also thought that he was kind of a cool guy.
Yeah.
He's a tall guy, handsome dude. He's got a social conscience. He's talking all that, he's got all the the African-American bookstore, he says, and I got this, I got all that shit. My dad's got a fro and a leather jacket and shit.
Yeah.
You know how it goes.
His name is fucking Mustaf. He sounds fucking hip.
At early 90s too, like there was a lot of like you could talk early 90s had a lot of, and I'm not just black in the black culture, but in a lot of cultures, you had a lot of shit you could talk to certain girls to get them to think you were like smarter than you were and shit like that. You could you could talk some bullshit, and everybody had a rap of some kind to try to get laid. So
and also with Tupac, there was a movement happening with the youth of black activists.
Yeah, but this is like, yeah, that's true too. There was that, and then there was like the whole kind of like, there was like the back to Africa dashiki shit that was going on a couple years before that, but then that petered out into the people would be like, man, fuck all that shit. They'd get into more of like this more, you know what I'm saying? This is like the next step after that. So, and there was a lot of different movements going on in all different circles. There was white kids playing acoustic guitars under trees at college doing the same bullshit. So I'm just saying, this is what we're talking about today. So she liked him, started fucking him. She's like, this has got to get into this. She started a relationship with Jerrod that she wanted to go further. Now, her brother warned her against hooking up with an athlete, which is a smart play. He said, quote, "I was not impressed." That's the brother. I was not impressed. I am not in favor of this pregnancy. He remembers writing Althea a letter saying, quote, "You've always been independent and you don't need him or anyone else to make it."
Okay.
The brother also said that he didn't even know about Mustaf's history of shaking women and shit like that. Like,
he was unaware.
He didn't know about any of that shit. He just said, I wasn't impressed. Yeah. There you go. So the charge, by the way, was the shaking was charged. That was dropped dismissed. Anyway. So that was, And he said he didn't know she was pregnant. So in Phoenix, though, he had another problem here with another pregnant woman. These, I feel like the Mustaf fellas don't really care for pregnant women. They're not in favor of it. We know this.
Also, not in favor of condoms, nor pulling out,
nor the results of those things.
The results of not doing either.
Apparently, he had a fiance named Sasha. How the fuck, Sasha? It's Sasha with a P in front of it. I don't know
what.
I don't know.
Pasasha,
but I guess like Fister, like the hotel.
Yeah.
Not Fist her, not Fist Sasha.
We don't
fist
know.
her like the hotel in Milwaukee or the Fawcett's.
I don't know her. I don't know.
I mean, I'm not going to fist her now. I've never met her before. So Sasha, I'll call her Sasha Luke. She was 8 months pregnant. He apparently got in a fight with her and allegedly fired a gun through a wall near her head.
What in the shit?
That's not good. That dispute apparently began when Sasha received a letter from a woman in Florida claiming Mustaf was the father of her child that was just born. Oh, God, Jerrod. Jesus, stop being such a crime and sports person.
Bag it up, man.
They got a letter, and she opened the letter and was like, you got another chick pregnant? I'm fucking 8 months pregnant. And he said, how dare you be angry about that?
Pa-pow.
Boom. So police filed an assault charge against him, which was later dropped. Now, Sasha Luke gave birth and became pregnant again a year later, but then had an abortion.
Okay. Yeah,
with
once.
With the other one, exactly.
Yeah.
So she said this was after Mustaf threatened her. She had an abortion. She later, though, had a second child with him. Okay. If you're pregnant.
Fool me thrice? What is this?
There's nothing. There's no proverb or fucking idiom that's going to cover this shit at all. This is just, what the fuck are you thinking?
Right.
If you're pregnant once, they shoot a gun by your head.
Mm-hmm.
You get pregnant again by the same person, which seems ill-advised. You get an abortion.
It seems you have been warned.
You've been warned.
Yeah.
Loudly, let's say. So then the second time you get pregnant, you have an abortion, quote, dodging the bullet, let's say. Not literally this time, but proverbial bullet.
So you don't have to.
And you go, you know what? I do it out of 3. When you do heads or tails, it's best 2 out of 3. What are we doing here? Maybe this time he'll go, wonderful, and bring me flowers and tell me to rest. I don't know.
This is the worst Rochambeau of all time.
It's terrible. Soon after that, she obtained an order of protection against him.
Okay. She's getting it.
At least his sperm has to stay far away from her.
Yeah.
Somebody. So separated from her, he was living with a different woman in the spring of 93. Mm-hmm. And then, so he was not Hayes, by the way, not the one who wants to be a singer. So separated from his thrice knocked up, shot
Sasha.
at Sasha, fiance or whatever. breaks up with her, separated from her, living with a different woman, and that's when he starts hooking up with Althea Hayes, when he's living with another woman while separated from his main chick. Okay.
Wow, he can't get
It's complicated. No, and like I said, he's, 22 years old.
Insatiable.
He's a tall guy, handsome guy. Every fucking woman can see him coming from a mile away. There he is. There's his head sticking far above everyone. I bet he plays for the Suns. Oh, he does. Great. Oh, they're the most famous people in the world. Everybody in Phoenix could pick out a son from a mile away. It's just... He's the perfect storm of pussy, is what it is.
The man was on the basketball court, at least his feet were, touching the same court that Michael Jordan was just on. And
pussy avalanche is what this is.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, a volcano of
it's
spewing pussy.
Yeah.
I was going to say pussy lava, but that doesn't sound good.
That's gross.
That sounds disgusting. So he, so he ends up doing all of that, hooking up with her. He's hooking up with Althea Hayes at hotels, and then he tells her, I'm pregnant. Or she tells him, I'm pregnant, Althea. She was really surprised. She was shocked. She's like, what are you going to tell Coach? What are you going to tell Charles Barkley when you're banging around in practice for rebounds? You're going to tell him, like, don't elbow me in the stomach?
Easy.
I'm 6 months along?
I'm in my second trimester.
Yeah, is that not? I don't think that's okay. So he threatened to stop talking to her if she didn't have an abortion.
Okay.
Yeah, so 2 nurses who examined Hayes would later tell investigators that when she mentioned Mustaf, she became emotional, upset, and concerned about her well-being. And so they were concerned, these nurses, so they referred Hayes to counseling. Now, there's another person here, her cousin, his name is Tierman Spencer, lives in Boston, and it's a guy, and he gets a call from Hayes. And she says, he said, quote, she said, I have to get out of here right now because they're going to get me.
Oh.
Okay. He said, I couldn't get a ticket fast enough, and I've been wrestling with that guilt ever since. That's because the next day she was killed.
Althea?
Althea was killed.
Oh, my God.
Okay. Now, Hayes told Mustaf early in the playoffs that she thought the baby she was carrying was his. He said, I think you should get an abortion, but she was religious and didn't want an abortion, and she said, quote, that's just how we were raised. So Mustaf then offered her $5,000 to get an abortion.
Oh.
If I give you 5 G's, will you get an abortion? But she said,
a lot left over.
Yeah, she said no. Now, everybody said friends, family of Hayes, and Hayes had told all these people that she was afraid of Mustaf now because she wasn't giving him what he wanted. Yeah. On June 16th, she visited a medical clinic where the pregnancy was confirmed. Mm-hmm. Make sure. 2 days later, she paged, because that's what we're dealing with, pager times. She paged Mustaf. He was in Chicago. That was during the playoffs still.
Right.
He called her back after Game 5 before the team flight took off, and records show they spoke for 8 minutes at that point. Okay. According to reports, Hayes told Mustaf that she was going to keep the baby, and Mustaf would be described in those same reports as very angry to the point that he chose to sit alone on the flight to Arizona.
I mean, you were going to anyway.
Yeah. But he sat all by himself back there because he was seething and pissing. Stewing. Later on, he'll claim that he was never told she was pregnant.
Oh.
Which I doubt. She went to the clinic, it was confirmed, and then they talked for 8 minutes after she paged him right afterwards.
She didn't say anything about it?
She just left that out.
Just wanted to see how your day was.
Just checking on you, babes. How's it going?
How's the Windy City?
Everything's great here in Phoenix.
Did
hot.
You get pizza?
Hot. It's hot. Did you go deep dish or thin crust? What are you doing? So on the morning of July 24th, Alvin Hayes, who is the family member, obviously, of Althea here, hadn't heard from his daughter, it's her father, in 2 days.
Okay.
So at 9 o'clock, he went to her apartment in Glendale, out there by you, and there he got into her apartment, and on the floor of her bedroom, he found she was curled up, dead, and decomposing.
Really?
Yes, she was on the floor, dead.
Of her own bedroom?
On her own bedroom. She'd been shot 4 times with a .380, including once back of the head execution style.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And she was 3 months pregnant, they confirm. So, the cops would love to have a little chat with Jerrod and just see what's going on there. Obviously, you were flying back to Phoenix or whatever, but he's questioned July 29th. He's questioned in the murder case. Yeah. And it's fucking wild. The mother, her mother, Hazel, Althea's mother, Hazel, is saying that, I want you to look at, she's publicly saying, you got to look at Jerrod. She was pregnant and my daughter was scared because he was pressuring her to have an abortion and all this type of shit.
Pretty obvious what happened, people.
Yeah. The Phoenix Gazette put a quote saying, yeah, I do remember that paper. The boyfriend had offered her $5,000 to have an abortion. She wouldn't do it. She just wanted the person out of her life. Yikes. So they said that it was probably, she was found that morning, but she'd probably been there for a couple days. Jesus Christ. So his agent, now he's got to have a silver-haired middle-aged white man here, Mustaf. Yeah. So he's got Michael Stratham, his agent and attorney. He said that, quote, Jerrod has that the agent has no reason to believe Mustaf is a suspect in the case because there's nothing to put him at the scene or to say he committed this heinous act. I don't know. He's willing to give up $5,000 to not have that baby. So
yeah,
I'll give it to you. I'll give it to somebody to kill you. That's just logic of, I'm not saying that happened.
Feels like he's not in favor of this.
He's not in favor of the pregnancy. That we do know here. So they said that Mustaf had cooperated with authorities and he was just one of 10 or 15 people, this is what his agent's saying, being asked about a lady who appears to have been murdered. Not appears to have been murdered.
It's impossible for anything else.
She did not shoot herself execution style with a 380 after 3 other wounds didn't do the trick here. So
4 bullets did not simultaneously erupt in her bedroom.
Wow, just all over the place. The agent also said that Althea Hayes, he describes her as a, quote, acquaintance of Mustaf. An acquaintance. He knocked her up. I
oftentimes put my penis in acquaintance.
Well, yeah, if anything that's alive inside me penetrates any part of something that's alive inside you and we form a being together, we're more than acquaintances. Yeah. I broke through your egg wall. What are you talking about?
I stayed in there long enough to ejaculate.
That's and I just left
more
it in.
Yeah.
The agent said girlfriend is not a term he wanted to use for Hayes. We've never denied that he had a relationship and knew the woman. Yeah.
You can have multiple girlfriends. It happens.
Oh, man, that's wild. So one of Hayes' family members here, Wendy Smith, said, quote, Althea and Jerrod had been going out together for the last 6 or 8 months. They were seen in public together and dated many times. Mm-hmm. And the agent also said, we don't know if Mustaf is the father of the baby or not. And by the way, he's not doing interviews, so you can't ask him. Okay, bye.
You got to go.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. So August 21st, 1993, this is in the Arizona Republic. Big picture of him and his baby sitting there holding it. He's got an 8-month daughter named Tara Kai, and just holding her. And it's Mustaf speaks out on killing. Okay. And I'll just read this. This is hilarious. By William Herman of the Arizona Republic. Quote, Jerrod Mustaf thinks he's getting a raw deal. I just love that. First line is amazing.
How could you write that?
Amazing. The 23-year-old reserve forward for the Phoenix Suns finds it incredible that anyone would link him to the slaying last month of Althea Hayes. Anyone. He's bitter with the police for embarrassing him and harassing his friends, and with the Suns for never supporting him while this is happening.
There's plenty of reasons not to.
They're going to distance themselves during a murder investigation, probably. But he holds special contempt for the news media, which he says has taken every opportunity to drag him through the mud. He's particularly incensed by the widespread reports that Hayes was 3 months pregnant with his child and that she refused his angry demands and an offer of $5,000 to have an abortion. Mustaf also thinks his cousin is innocent in Hayes' slaying. We'll get into that. Although Hayes reportedly told relatives hours before her death that the cousin was in her Glendale apartment and that she was afraid. And then she died. Wow, no arrests have been made. No suspects have been identified. This is just what he says because that's what the rumors were. He says, if I were going to do something like that, if I were going to hire a guy to kill a girl, I'd have left town before. They said before the slaying took place, he said. He expressed confidence that he had nothing to fear in the July 22nd shooting death of Hayes. Quote, I did not date Althea Hayes.
If I did it, here's how I would.
Wow, yeah, this is a very OJ defense. Mustaf said as he sat with his infant daughter in his parents' home in Greenbelt, an upper-income suburb of Washington, D.C., she was not what you'd call my girlfriend, but I don't like to talk about my sexual relations with anyone, so I won't discuss that.
So clearly he's having sex with her.
Yeah, well, then they said, asked whether he had a sexual relationship with Hayes, Mustaf would neither confirm nor deny it.
Okay.
No, I just hang out with young ladies as friends all the time.
Yeah.
Even though I'm a horny young man, like every other horny young man. He denied offering Hayes $5,000 to abort her fetus. Quote, she didn't even tell me she was pregnant.
Okay.
He acknowledges that he had visited Hayes in her apartment, but denied he was with her the day or night before her death, as her relatives have told police.
Yeah.
He said he last saw her on July 19th when she went to his home. He said he learned of her death on the July 25th when he arrived at Washington's National Airport. When he got off the plane, he said he was stopped by airport security and asked to call Glendale police about a homicide. Quote, I talked to Detective Lowe. He was very inquisitive, and he asked a lot of tough personal questions. He asked if I was involved in the killing of Althea Hayes, and I said no. Okay. So he was also... Mustaf was particularly outraged that the police confiscated a pistol during the search of his Chandler home, and that news reports have described it as material evidence in the Hayes death. Okay.
He was living in Chandler? That's an awful long ride to the stadium.
That's what I'm saying, but he could probably get a giant, big old property and house out there back then. Back then, you could get a fucking Christ by half a Chandler for $200,000 back then. He said, quote, I maybe have 20 guns in my home in Chandler. I had a brand new .380, and they took that, and they're trying to paint a picture that they found a gun that possibly killed Althea Hayes.
Okay.
He also says he never lent any of his guns to his cousin, Levani Wooten, who reportedly was in Hayes' apartment the night that police think she was shot. Mustaf acknowledges the news stories have been hard on Wooten, who has given police hair and blood samples to compare with samples found under her Hayes' fingernails.
Oh.
Now, Shar, his father, said Wooten isn't worried about his implication in the slayings. Quote, I've spent about 10 hours with Levani since this happened. Last time we talked, he wasn't scared at all. After he gave police samples of his hair and blood, he was totally confident.
That's a frightening man, then.
Yeah, that's pretty scary. So Mustaf himself, though, refused to provide any samples of anything.
Oh.
Police detective asked that he voluntarily give hair and blood, although the samples could clear him of the slaying. Mustaf refused to provide them, mostly because he feels he's been mistreated by the police.
Yeah.
He
also,
said
I don't want you to test the blood of that fetus.
That's the other thing. Well, he said, if they had a court order, I would do it. Well, no shit you would, because they'd fucking pin you down and do it. So because
then you go to jail if you don't.
And then they take it in jail.
Right,
so you're getting
anyway.
blood from you at that point. You ever see The Wire when they take Chris and Snoop in? Court order.
One way or another. We're getting
one way or another. Police have caused him considerable embarrassment by talking to his friends and acquaintances in Maryland, the ball player said. Quote, when the authorities called my friends up here saying me and my friends were thugs, that was it. Why would I want to help them out? The police, he says. He said he first met Hayes in February or March when she called him at his business, JM Entertainment at 48th Street and Broadway. Jesus. And over there. And Mustaf's bookstore, the Mustaf Connection, is in the same address. She wanted a singing career and hoped we could help her, but she never made any demo tapes because she never got her act together, he says. Hayes asked him for money several times. He says, quote, Althea mentioned money to me because she was having some financial problems. She asked for loans and always wanted money for this and that. On the night she was killed, he says he was entertaining friends all night at his home. Statements confirmed by a friend of his who took part in an interview. This is an Anderson guy, Jahar Anderson. He says that Wooten was not there, though, adding that Wooten may have gone to Los Angeles that evening. Or Mustaf believes news accounts have inflated the importance of other recent difficulties with the law, which in March, Wooten told police in Phoenix that Mustaf struck him in the head with a telephone during a quarrel outside the bookstore. His own cousin. He gave him like Joe Pesci in Casino.
Yeah.
He hit him with a phone during a quarrel. Mustaf faces municipal court hearing next month on that incident. And in June, Sasha Lake said that, who was Mustaf's fiance and mother of his 8-month-old daughter, alleged that Mustaf pushed her and a friend during a quarrel. And a friend.
2 people.
I push bitches that I'm not even with. I don't give a fuck. That's crazy. Never heard of that before. Wow. By the way, that Sasha Luke's only 19, by the way, too. She's young as fuck. Mustaf's scheduled to appear in court for that as well. So he's got 2 court dates happening. He says he's very disappointed in the Suns, though. That's what he's most disappointed. Yeah, he said nothing really happened, and since then, she's tried to drop the charges, meaning Sasha. Sasha's still my fiance, and we might get married. Well, that's not really your fiance if you might get married. Fiance means let's get married. Start picking out centerpieces. Yeah. What kind of cake do you like is what that means.
Basically married pending a ceremony. That's all.
That's it.
We just got to get this shit
She's
together.
like, I mean, maybe.
She's my fiance. Maybe we'll get married.
Yeah, I gave her a ring and we have kids and shit, but, let's not get fucking ahead of ourselves with all this marriage stuff. This is crazy. He said he is disappointed but not surprised by what he characterizes as the lack of support by the Suns. He and the Suns currently are at odds over playing time and contract matters, and the Suns are rumored to be seeking a trade for him. Oh, what a tempting piece of trade bait that is. 4 points a game, and he might have killed a woman? Wow, this is really... I can't. How do we turn this down?
Facing maybe 30 years? Let's talk about it.
What do you trade him for? One of those big nets you carry like 15 balls in? Is that what you get for him? We'll give you him for nets.
And a trampoline for the mascot.
Yeah. Some of those chairs we use on the sidelines, where one of them, our cushions are a little bad on one of them.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. So despite reports that he has been asked to be traded, Mustaf said he will return to play for the Suns next season if things work out. Our Suns president at that time, Jerry Colangelo, quote, never supported me in anything I've done, he said, adding, Jerry thought I spent too much time on my investments. The Suns weren't too fond of my bookstore because it was so Afrocentric. They didn't come to my grand opening. And then he says, in Phoenix, they'll accept an attitude about black people. And he said Colangelo's opinion on him is based on gossip and rumor. He said, Jerry tries to throw it out like basketball is all I have. He looks at me like, who is this kid? So, yeah. He said, as far as my playing time goes, it came to be a joke. Charles Barkley joked about it. In the finals, I didn't even get on the court. I read a couple books during the finals. Not on the bench, but yeah.
Right. That's very funny that the man's contract is up, or at least he's being discussed for trade, and he's just trashing the team.
Trashing him. That'll make you very attractive.
While in the midst of a fucking murder investigation.
Jesus Christ.
Idiot.
So K.C. Skull entered now.
Okay.
K.C. Skull. He's the head prosecutor of Maricopa County's homicide unit here. So he can pick his own cases, and he picked, quote, the highest profile and the worst ones, he said. And he said Hayes' murder was both. So that worked out very well. And they said that because of the professional athlete involvement, that the scope and scale of the investigation has to be large because you have somebody who's got a lot of resources and shit like that. So inside, they talk about the pretrial staff briefing because they're going to talk about Levani Wooten. It's they talk about the document has reports and interviews and phone records, much of which was entered into the record in court, including, here's some facts of the case. Levani Wooten returned to the East Coast after a falling out with his cousin. Then on July 20th, 1993, after he got beaten with a phone in the face, 1993, he received 2 airline tickets, one for him and one for his girlfriend, Harris, to come back to Phoenix the next day. Mustaf and his father would claim these tickets, which were paid for by Mustaf, were intended to repair the cousins' relationship. But Harris, the girlfriend, told investigators a different story. She said Wooten told her that he owed Mustaf a favor. In Phoenix, Wooten and Harris would stay at Mustaf's home. On the same day those tickets arrived, Wooten's mother received $1,500 from Mustaf as well, purportedly to cover rent on her apartment in Landover, Maryland. On the afternoon of July 22nd, witnesses saw Mustaf driving a red rented Mercedes convertible, head sticking out all high above the fucking windshield, into the parking lot of Hayes' apartment. they're like, I don't want it to be my car. That'll stand out. I'll get a rental car. What's the least conspicuous car you have? A red Mercedes that my fucking head sticks out of the top of and everyone can see me in.
And I'm going to drive that motherfucker straight into Glendale.
Where you constantly see 7-foot-tall black guys in bright red convertible Mercedes all over Glendale. That's all you see.
You don't even see 7-foot-tall black guys. Forget the car.
Yeah, fuck the car. So into the parking lot of the complex, they also saw Wooten following in a black Porsche owned by Mustaf.
What the fuck are they doing?
On an apartment complex in Glendale. Those are the two nicest cars that have ever been in that apartment complex, and they showed up at the same time. People probably poured out of their apartments going, what's going on?
What the fuck is that?
Did a car show have a fucking...
Did you guys get
detour
lost
in here? What's going on here? No, you're going on.
These two cars are worth more than the complex.
Oh, every apartment in it. So Hayes wasn't home at that point. That same evening at 9:23, Hayes placed a call from her apartment to a friend named Tony Evans, who said that Hayes told her, quote, Jerrod's cousin Vonnie is over here right now, so if anything happens to me, you know who was here.
Oh.
That's damning.
That's
around 7 or 8 minutes later, Hayes' neighbors heard what sounded like either gunshots or firecrackers.
Yeah.
Which a 380 is not a very big one. Yep.
Right.
At approximately 10 p.m., Harris, the cousin's girlfriend, says she woke up from a nap at Mustaf's house and looked for Wooten. Asked about his whereabouts, Mustaf replied that Wooten had gone out to, quote, handle some business for me.
Holy.
That's not good. Wooten returned that night. I mean, well, maybe he came back and was like, wearing like club clothes and was like just out having a good time. Oh, no, not at all. He returned dressed in all black with a knit hat on, looking like OJ fucking leaving Nicole's house and shit.
There's not a day of weather in Arizona that requires a fucking knit cap.
It's July 22nd. It's July 22nd in Phoenix.
And he came back wearing the bank robber accoutrement.
Like the stereotypical burglar outfit. Now, these are clothes that you don't even know where they are in July. If someone said, I need a knit hat, you go, I don't know, it's in boxes. I'm like, I have no fucking idea. I can't find it. And then in like December, you might look for something, maybe.
Yeah.
But this is...
let's take a weekend trip to Flagstaff. Well, we're going to have to dig through some boxes and find the clothes for it.
I don't have a sleeve in my closet right now. We're talking, everybody, it's like 102 at midnight.
Yeah.
You're not wearing this.
Denim in
ever. Wow. So he gets home dressed in all black and told his girlfriend to start packing up because we're driving to California right now.
We got to get out of here.
Because she has a house out there. And then another house guest of Mustaf's reported seeing Wooten near a gun closet, near a gun closet after he returned to the residence. As Harris and Wooten left the house in a Mitsubishi Diamante that another one of Mustaf's friends had rented with Harris driving, they watched Mustaf disassemble a semi-automatic handgun and throw pieces of it out the window as they drove away.
Out of the car?
Out of the car window. He's slide there. He's disassembling a gun and throwing it away. He then
holy shit.
Wooten returned to Phoenix on July 24th. Mustaf and his girlfriend took Wooten to a mall where they bought him a new suit and then took him to the airport.
Wow.
That was the day they're like, you're going to need this for court because you did a lot of dumb shit. That was the day that Alvin Hayes found Althea dead on the floor. So on July 26th, Wooten returned a call from the Glendale detective in charge of the investigation. At first, he denied even knowing Hayes. Never met her, don't know who you're talking about.
Idiot.
Then he admitted he might have met her before. He told the detective that he flew into Phoenix on the night of the 22nd, then corrected himself because it was actually the 21st. He was like, oh, they can check that shit.
Right, easy.
He explained that he and Harris had traveled to Phoenix so she could visit her cousin, Keith Rucker, the NFL player.
Oh.
So roughly a week after the murder, Wooten called Harris and told her that if the police were to ask, she should say that they left Phoenix for California at 2 or 3 in the afternoon on July 22nd, and also instructed her to repeat the story about visiting her cousin. During the conversation, Harris took notes on a piece of cardboard that was later recovered by detectives.
Idiot.
Fucking idiot. The police investigation revealed Wooten's story to be riddled with holes, obviously. Rucker had been out of town. The one they came to visit wasn't even in Phoenix. And people who were at Mustaf's house on the afternoon and evening of July 22nd refuted his claim that he left at 3 because they said they saw him there. Other sources confirmed that Wooten and Hayes knew each other from Mustaf's connection, the bookstore, and Harris fed investigators Wooten's version of events more than once before eventually breaking down and admitting that she'd lied for her boyfriend the whole time. Yes, so...
One thing you should definitely do when there's a murder, when you commit one, get a shitload of witnesses.
Get a ton of witnesses that can place you exactly where you say you aren't. Don't fly into town, get put up in a fucking Holiday Inn Express under an assumed name, and then fucking do your business. Stay in his house, hang out with his friends, party, be seen.
Bunch of people that have zero interest in keeping you from the police.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. 3 months after Hayes' death, Wooten dropped the bookstore-related assault charge against Jerrod and the civil suit against his cousin as well. And on July 22nd, the last day Hayes was seen alive, Mustaf wrote a $10,000 check to purchase land in North Carolina. Intercepted phone calls revealed that this land was to be the site of a disco. Okay. A former girlfriend of Mustaf's confirmed that Wooten was going to manage the disco for him back then.
He's going to build a disco in 1994.
In North Carolina, in the middle of nowhere. In Whiteville.
And let a man hide out
Wow.
there.
So on April 8th, 1994, 9 months after Hayes was killed, Wooten is finally arrested and charged with first-degree murder, burglary, and witness tampering. As he awaited trial, he conducted a jailhouse interview and asserted his innocence. And, he said this is...
that man thought he got away with it.
He did this on the radio. He did an interview on the radio, and on the radio was Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember who this was, a radio person called Super Snake. Do you remember who that is?
He's still around, yeah.
He's still around. Okay,
Very old man, yeah.
Barkley and Super Snake talked to him from prison.
Super Snake is what
Those are the people who I want to do a deep dive, hard-hitting interview with a possible murder suspect.
Snake.
Yeah.
He looks like when Beetlejuice was a snake. That's what he looks like. He looks terrible. He's not a good-looking man.
Oh, I bet. His name is Super Snake. First of all, you could just say, he's on the radio, and I go, so, hideous man?
Ugly man?
Ugly man? Because it's not like, you'd be on TV if you weren't ugly. It seems like one of the requirements for radio is, I don't know, you're a little handsome for this. Make everyone around here feel bad. I don't think so. The receptionists will fuck you. We can't have this.
Comedy and radio is where the hideous
Doesn't
people
matter.
hide.
Yeah, we hide out in the shadows. We only come out at night. They're behind they're just a voice into the...
Yeah, they're behind everything.
Into the abyss. So, Mustaf here is summoned a week later before a grand jury. That's not good. And though he instead invokes the Fifth Amendment through the entire thing.
Oh, that's not good, sir.
Pleads the Fifth, and DNA testing reveals that Hayes was, in fact, pregnant by Jerrod Mustaf, just like everyone said. Witnesses said the two had argued bitterly over the fact, obviously, and so they say that they believe that Mustaf ordered his cousin to kill Hayes when she refused to have an abortion. Because otherwise, Jerrod has to be... Okay, this is a weird legal case because they're not charging him at this point, but they're charging the other guy. The other guy has no connection to her without Jerrod. So
right, without the pregnancy, it's not... He would never know her.
There's a middle person here that you can't get to. So prosecutors charged that Mustaf flew Wooten to Arizona from Maryland to kill Hayes. Shortly before her death, Hayes whispered to a friend over the phone, like we told you, that the cousin is here. Witnesses are placing him at the home in Chandler, like we said. By the way, other witnesses, including an off-duty police officer, testified they saw Mustaf and Wooten in separate cars outside Hayes' apartment the day she was killed as well. That's how that's backed up. Because like I said, everybody said, what the fuck are those cars doing in my apartment complex in Glendale, you idiots? Wow. Mustaf once told a reporter that he was there because they asked him, why were you there that day? And he couldn't deny it because a bunch of people saw it. So he said, I was just there to loan her some money.
Right.
That's why I went there that day.
Maybe I should have driven the Diamante. Whoops.
Yeah. Whoops. Shit. They talk about how, the prosecutor and defense are in agreement about how the crime unfolded, but basically the prosecution team asserts that Mustaf wanted Hayes killed because she refused an abortion. Yeah. Now, the defense is, Mustaf wanted Hayes killed because she refused an abortion. So he must have done it. So you should talk to him, not my guy.
Right.
That's how they're doing it. And lacking in physical evidence, they believe Mustaf masterminded the whole thing, and they're doing all that. So the defense argues that, Mustaf arranged the murders, but they said that Wooten's been set up by Mustaf. That's what he did.
Okay.
He brought him out there just so it would look bad for him, to set him up, because he was mad at him for charging him and filing charges for assaulting him.
So he's even more diabolical than we thought.
He's like, I can murder my pregnant girlfriend and set my cousin up for it, an innocent man, all in one swoop.
I give her this woman, this baby, and this man, all in one.
Evil. I shall do evil.
But the problem with that is too many people saw Jerrod at his own house, so he didn't do it. Who the fuck killed her then?
I don't know. That's too evil for, like, Cobra Commander would be like, I don't know. I feel like I'm going a little too far. Does everyone here feel like it's too far? It's too far, right? Right? Okay, just the girl. Just the girl. Okay.
Over the phone incident, I got to get him.
This is too much. I got to get him. So... this is a lot. So they're talking about how the defense also says that investigators there's no evidence that they had sufficiently pursued other suspects, and they focused right away here and all that on Wooten and on this whole theory. They went back and forth over various pieces of evidence, hearsay exceptions, and comments to the press, and all sorts of shit like that they're doing. They're just going back and forth. In motions leading up to the trial, the prosecution even tried compelling the defense to reveal who was paying her legal fees.
Yeah.
And she said, none of the state's frickin' business.
Okay.
Say fuck, you're a lawyer. Come on. Then they said, she says that it must have been from Mustaf because he's the only one in the family that had any money.
Mm-hmm.
So... here's the thing, though. Wooten never says he hired me.
Really?
Never says shit. Even facing life without parole, he declined to cooperate with prosecutors.
Wow.
Yeah, the defense lawyer said they didn't want Lavani. Who they wanted was Jerrod. They thought that eventually Lavani would break.
And
he's not going to do this time for us. But if he set him up good enough, that's what would happen.
Also, not just that, but like they have no evidence that he did it other than her telling her friend that, or her family that he was there. That's the only thing they've got on him.
And the times and him disassembling a gun
everything.
after. It looks bad. It's a lot of circumstantial evidence, but they have no gun matched to a bullet.
Physical.
They don't have, his blood on the floor or anything like that, her blood on his clothes or some shit. So they thought, though, the prosecutor figured that he could establish motive and opportunity and, had a lot of evidence that just looked really bad here. He also found he was put in contact with a former girlfriend of Mustaf's who just returned from visiting him in Spain. Mustaf and her fought. He accused her of stealing $10,000. Then he left her a voicemail, which she turned over to the authorities.
Uh-oh.
According to the pretrial briefing memo, they said that it was experts authenticated. It was his voice, and it said, "quote I will recover that money by any and all means. If you don't believe me, you better ask me. You better ask about me in Arizona."
Oh boy,
which does not sound good after your girlfriend was murdered here. So. The trial lasts about 2 weeks. Not a lot of media coverage, honestly.
Wow. Yeah,
because he wasn't a star.
Any of this,
and he was gone because this was '96. He was already gone by then.
Right.
I mean, if he was on the team by then, or if he was a star or anything. So Wooten is found guilty on all counts, and when the verdict was announced, he smiled, yelled "peace," and high-fived some friends that were behind him in the gallery.
Guilty?
Fuck yeah.
Peace.
Peace.
What?
I'm out. So He was spared the death penalty because the judge called it a lack of aggravating circumstances to support the request, but he is sentenced to life for the murder.
Wow.
21 years for the burglary and nearly 2 years for witness tampering.
Okay.
And he was unsuccessful in his appeals as well.
Yeah, he's going to be in there.
Mustaf just goes to Europe.
Really?
That's his whole thing. Yeah. Later on, he'll go to Europe, and it's pretty wild. Now, the mother, Althea's mother, said, "When my husband found our daughter laying down dead, it murdered my whole family. I can't truly heal until Jerrod Mustaf is brought to justice."
Yeah.
So they were just, everyone's so surprised that Wooten never flipped. That's the thing.
Yeah. Without him, you can't get Jerrod, can you?
No, and then Mustaf said later on he's going to be they can't. He's going to be cut by a bunch of European teams and shit. And he says, "I've been convicted without a trial. What about innocent until proven guilty?" He's like, all these teams, all these rumors, nobody likes it. So the Hayes family filed a wrongful death civil suit claiming Mustaf had hired Wooten to do this for the express purpose of carrying out the plan to kill Althea. They end up settling for an undisclosed amount.
Is that right?
Now, I don't know about you, but
why would you settle if you didn't do anything?
If I didn't fucking kill somebody and you're suing me saying I killed your pregnant daughter, we're fighting that out till my last fucking breath. I did not kill your goddamn fucking pregnant daughter, and I'm sorry someone did, but it wasn't me. So
I'll give money to lawyers before I give them to you because I'm right and you're wrong.
That's what I mean. Don't accuse me of that shit. So he does make $904,000 that year, though. So
wow.
92, 93. Now, 93, 94, the charges, Prince George's County charges where Mustaf was roughing up Sasha there.
Right.
They dropped those charges, battery charges against him. They dropped those charges back there. So he doesn't have that hanging over his head. The complainants decided they did not want to go forward with the charges, they said. Sure. So according to the court records, Sasha Luke, his fiance, the mother of their daughter, Mustaf, hit her, pushed her, kicked her, and spat on her.
Jesus.
Yeah, and a friend of Luke's, the girlfriends from Brooklyn, alleged Mustaf hit her and spat on her as well.
Okay.
Yeah, both of them, her and her friend. So they said that Luke and Simmons signed papers last week stating their decisions not to go forward with the charges were made of their own free will, blah, blah, blah. So the Mustaf's attorney said, "I think the state's attorney did an appropriate job of reviewing the matter, misunderstanding rather than a criminal act on part of the participants. It was just a misunderstanding."
That's all. It's not a big deal.
When I spit on my wife's friends, it's usually just a misunderstanding after I push them. Wow, that's fucking funny. So he's scheduled, though, to stand trial on a misdemeanor assault charge in Phoenix, where from the thing with his cousin, but that ends up being dropped.
Yeah.
So that ends up being all dropped and everything.
So he's in the clear.
Well, August 22nd, 1993. Now, this is before his cousin's convicted 2 years later and all that. So while it's all going on, still the summer of 93, back to then, the murder time, Mustaf, even in the paper, the headline is, "Mustaf supports cousin, maintains his own innocence."
Oh, boy.
Which is fucking insane. Yeah, he says that, quote, I'd have left town before I did it. He said that stuff. And then the gun thing he's very upset about. And my cousin didn't do shit. He said, "I've spent about 10 hours with Levani since this happened. Last time we talked, he wasn't scared at all." That's what he says again. He's going back to that. He's fine. I'm not giving him shit. Everybody can suck my ass. So October 14th, 1993, the misdemeanor assault charge against him is dismissed again, because the man he attacked, a different guy, it's his cousin, didn't appear to testify. That's right. So that's how that gets dropped here. With a cell phone, a 93 cell phone. That's a big phone. That's worse than a pay phone.
That's a brick, babe.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy. Of course, his lawyers said this was all ridiculous anyway, because he said, "I think it's absolutely ludicrous the time parameters Glendale police are using to make an arrest." Yeah, I don't know about that. Now, meanwhile,
it's a murder. They got to investigate.
They got to look into it a bit.
Yeah.
Into a murder. Now, meanwhile, he's still playing basketball. The next year, 93, 94, he plays for the Suns. They're 56 and 26. They sweep the Warriors and losing 7 to the Rockets.
Oh, Rockets
that
right.
year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
went
won.
on to beat the Knicks. Fucking John Starks. Anyway, so this is the year they had AC Green too. They brought him in. So there's less place for him to play now. Even December 17th, 1993. That's when it comes out during the season that the lab tests indicated that he was definitely the father of the now no longer living fucking fetus. And Hayes, the Hayes' parents said, "We knew the baby was Jerrod's the whole time. Our daughter knew it, and she told us. Now I just have to hope they'll get on with this investigation. I have faith in God, and I believe eventually the police will catch whoever did this." Yikes. Maybe not. So Mustaf again here, December. They're talking about this is when all this is coming out during the season, and he's not doing great on the court. He's a bit distracted, and it makes sense. Plays in 33 games, only starts 2.2 points a game.
What?
1.7 rebounds.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And he before this season, he was like, man, it's on this year. It's fucking on. He kept saying it. It's on. And then 2.2 points. That's his last year in the NBA, it turns out.
Is that right?
4 years. Yep, he played in 179 games. He averaged, this is a very, 10.6 minutes a game, 4 points a game, 2.5 rebounds a game. Wow.
Yeah, he was a sub.
He said, "My final year in the league, I didn't care. Whenever I touched the ball, I was looking to score and took on a I have nothing to lose mentality."
Yep.
Whenever you touch the ball, you look to score, and 2.2 points is what you pulled out of that. You think like your defense would suffer, but you scored more points. Nope, it just sucks.
He touched the ball twice, James.
2 times. That's all he could do. 2 times. He does make $1,073,000 that year, though.
That's not enough.
No, total for his career, $3,277,000.
Jerrod Mustaf made $3 million.
$3 million, right? And you take out taxes and agents and lawyers and
he made $1 million
abortions and fucking murder payoffs allegedly and all this shit. You don't have a lot of money left.
No.
So he is quietly released by the Suns, as they put it, on September 15th. And it's, they asked Paul Westphal, who was the coach from 92 to 96, what was it like coaching Mustaf? And they said, quote, he pauses before responding, and he says, quote, "What I remember about him, I'd rather keep in my brain."
Who?
Who? And I remember, too, when he joined the Knicks, that was one of the big deals is Oakley tried to take him under his wing, because I read in this book, was it Blood in the Garden or something? And he would, like, they made fun of Mustaf because he didn't have suits and shit. So, like, Oakley took him out and made him buy suits that were appropriate and, like, showed him how to act and shit like that. Was trying to make something of him, but couldn't quite do it. So they pressed him. "Oh, come on, Paul. That sounds like you really got something funny to say here.
Right.
Jesus, keep it in your brain." And he just wouldn't do shit. He couldn't do it. So they asked him what happened in Phoenix. They asked fucking Jerrod. He said, "Nothing about Phoenix was a good fit for me." And they pressed him for specifics, and he starts naming off black teammates who were married to non-black women.
What?
Yeah, he's like, that's the problem. Didn't fit in because Barkley fucks white ladies.
Because Barkley's at Tommaso's with Madonna. That's my problem. That's why I can't score more than 2 points.
He said, quote, he also recounts how Kevin Johnson, the Suns' leader, sat in the front of the team bus, quote, and didn't say a word for nothing. Kevin was that good Negro. I was not that guy.
Oh, wait till you hear about what he did.
Yeah, he was.
He's not that.
Kevin wanted to be in politics, and then he went and he did, and then he went and fucked that all up. So,
right.
Yeah. But he came across. But Kevin Johnson spoke like this, and he was very much, no, we're going to go out and win that game today, Lord willing. Lord willing, we're going to go out and give it our best effort, and hopefully it'll come together for us on the court. Thank you very much, sir. And then he'd walk away.
And wait till you hear about AC Green being a virgin. At 38.
Man,
I mean,
we got virgins and motherfuckers sitting in the front of the bus. Fuck this team. So Mustaf said yes, he did ask to be traded and all that. The Suns had no takers here.
We tried to trade you. Nobody wanted anything.
No way. It didn't help his marketability at all. And, but he said, I want to establish something. I want to stick it out. I think Phoenix needs a guy like me, someone who's willing to stand up.
No.
No, and they didn't.
Also,
they
you
didn't want him.
Stand up. Neither did
stand
your
up
brother,
for what?
Your cousin. Yeah. You stand up for your wallet. That's it.
When a bitch says you knocked her up, you fucking kill her. That's how you stand up. How dare you accuse me of knocking you up?
How could he say these things?
Oh, wow. That's crazy. So, allegedly, all of that shit. So, the prosecutors are trying to they keep trying to do the thing to find out the legal fees, because they thought that if they proved that Jerrod paid his cousin's legal fees, they could do something with that. So they're talking about that also. They're talking about the prosecution about hush money that he's paying to people, and it just looks bad for him.
It does.
Just put it that way. Also, he's got the prosecutors have known since February who's been paying the lawyer's bill, they said, because of phone calls Wooten made from jails to Mustaf and relatives and friends that were recorded.
Yeah.
Saying, Jerrod's paying for my shit. They said, we've known about these payments and who's been paying for these phone conversations, but they just wanted them to answer and they wouldn't. Yeah. Court documents claim Miller was paid a $25,000 down payment. That's the cousin's lawyer.
Uh-huh.
They said Mrs. Miller certainly had to know that Jerrod Mustaf's paying thousands of dollars on behalf of the defendant could be considered as evidence of their conspiracy or agreement to commit this crime. Why else would Mustaf pay thousands and thousands of dollars to anyone on behalf of Wooten?
Right.
So
he should be furious that Wooten murdered his baby.
Yeah, why the fuck would you pay him? You'd be like, I have nothing to do with him. He murdered that's my baby that he murdered. So January 30th, 1996 here, Levani, that's when he's finally convicted and, goes through all that kind of shit. So they ask the Wooten's attorney, and she says, I can't say much about it because it's an ongoing investigation, and the prosecutor said it's still a difficult case. Jerrod Mustaf done what we used to call sucker punched his own cousin. That's what Althea's mother said.
Uh-huh.
He sucker punched his own cousin. Let him go down for it. So 95-96, he goes and plays in, I think that's Spain, Liga ACB.
Sounds
for
like it.
Festina Andorra.
Yeah.
Plays in 7 games, plays 34.6 minutes a game, which, Christ, I didn't know he had the cardio for that anymore. Wow. 19.9 minutes a game, 7.7 rebounds. So his college stats.
Yeah.
He got his college stats back here.
Playing non-NBA players. That makes sense.
Yeah. So October 3rd, 1996, the Arizona Republic has an article. The headline is, Authorities Amazed Teams Sign Mustaf.
Yeah.
They said for 3 years they've continued to pursue the investigation against him. They said now police detective Bruce Lowe and Maricopa County attorney Rick Romley are shaking their heads over the fact that Mustaf can be signed by 2 NBA teams in the past week.
Wow.
Listen to this. Because he gets signed by the Sonics and somebody else. They said, the way sports are today, nothing surprises me, Lowe said, after learning that Mustaf been signed by the Supersonics. Romley is incredulous that this could happen, especially after the Charlotte Hornets waived Mustaf last week, 2 days after signing him, when media reports about the ongoing investigation surfaced.
They didn't know.
They thought that it was all washed up. They didn't care. They were like, water under the bridge. There was no Google in 96, so...
Right.
You can't go, oh, shit, there was a story last week. So they signed him, and then the local media made a big deal, so they released him, and the Sonics went, well, we'll fucking take him.
Yeah, we need a big guy.
Crazy. So Romley said, but anything can happen. I don't understand how the NBA works. There has to be some sort of communication channel. Yeah, I would say. They're saying, but he wasn't convicted of anything, so, he can play. They said, but the Glendale Police Department said Mustaf is still a suspect and the investigation is still in the hands of the Glendale Police Department. Wow. He was a suspect at the time the crime took place. He remains a suspect to this day, and the case is still open. That was back then. And it's murder. Murder, as Bunk said on The Wire, murder stay murder.
It does.
So it's any time. It's always murder. So they said he's been playing in Europe, and he was very... very disappointed that he can't be on the Charlotte Hornets now. They said this is the Hornets Vice President Bob Bass. Upon reconsideration, we decided we're not in favor of this. That would have been the best thing, he said. But he said, upon reconsideration, we decided to go in a different direction. He does not fit into our team's plans.
No. And we have David Wingate.
Yeah, we had fucking him. He's awful, too. So sources close to the team said that the Hornets failed to do their homework and then were embarrassed by the negative publicity. So they immediately did that. After news reports surfaced, the team contacted Romley's office, the prosecutor's office in Maricopa County, to inquire about the case and asked the Suns for copies of newspaper clippings about Mustaf. They hadn't followed it at all. They were just like,
happen to have a newspaper about it?
Tell me about this whole court case thing again here. The next day he was waived. They were like, oh, God, this sounds terrible. Wow. Jesus Christ. They talked to Seattle about it, and Seattle said, we're concerned about basketball issues and evaluating basketball talent. That's all they would say.
We do basketball. That's it.
Yes. By the way, if you're reading this and you're shocked about this, so shocked that your dick doesn't work, I have something for you. Defeat impotence, it says in large letters. Improve your, italicized and underlined, quality of life at the men's clinics, the Pearlson Medical Group in Phoenix, Tempe, Peoria. So if this has shocked you into complete impotency, you can be helped.
This was the time for dick pills and dick magic. This was a real golden age of it.
No shit. Jesus Christ, man. Mustaf does an interview saying he suspects the NBA had unofficially blacklisted him. He said,
what are you talking about?
He said, quote, we can look at the facts. You don't want people to do that,
No,
Jerrod.
you don't.
He said, we can look at the facts. Anytime you see a guy 6'10" that can walk and chew gum at the same time, the first question is, can he play in the NBA? If I was a general manager and I saw a guy on the street that if I went to Safeway and saw a guy that was 6'10", I'd have to bring the guy in, especially if you're not in the playoffs, like you're a shit team. It's not my fault I haven't been in the NBA. He just said, it's not my fault. It's not my fault, all the reasons they don't want me. It's also not my fault I averaged 4 points a fucking game over 4 years. Yeah. Not my fault.
I'm 6'10" with a pocket full of big league. Put me in.
Put me in. So the Sonics said the waiver claim on Jerrod Mustaf has been deemed to be invalid, making him a free agent, and the Sonics do not offer him a contract. The teams such as the Sonics, they were over the cap, so they couldn't sign him anyway. They were going to probably get rid of someone else.
Figure it out.
Yeah, so any NBA team can claim him now, though. So he's pretty fucked at this moment in time. So, yeah, you got to kind of – you don't feel bad for him. You feel bad for anybody who he's ever impregnated, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
That's pretty scary. And who I might also feel bad for, Jimmy –
Fuck out.
there aren't Jerrod Mustafs, but there is, I believe this has to be his son, because this is him, Tara J. Mustaf II.
Oh, God.
Tara Jerrod Mustaf, that's his name.
Jerrod
Mustaf II. He's a creator, educator, artist, went to North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, and works for the New York City Department of Education.
He works in New York.
He's got to be his kid. And and he's doing, nice, good things. I'm not trying to disparage the kid or anything like that. And then there is one that is definitely his son as well that we'll talk about later because he's playing basketball and everything. So October 20th, 1996, he wonders, Jerrod says, will his name ever be cleared so he can return to the NBA and then finally become a political leader? Because that's what he's been trying to do.
Yeah.
He's like, this is ridiculous. They're going to ruin my whole fucking...
My whole gig.
My whole gig, man. The Sonics were... Wow. He was released immediately by the Hornets. Then the Sonics say they were unaware that Maricopa County prosecutors still suspected him, even though he hadn't been charged or indicted. Wow, that is fucking crazy. He said, I thought Seattle would be prepared for it. It was like they knew that it was there. Holy fucking shit. That's a lot, man. That's a lot. So they find out about it, obviously. Everybody knows about it, and that's it. So they were asked, I guess, Mustaf said, please, when he was at the first day at Sonics training camp, he said to reporters to give him a chance to play and to not talk about these allegations, please.
Please. It really makes me think about it.
Water under the bridge, you know what I mean? Please, you're blowing up my spot, is what he's saying. So upon hearing Mustaf's words that night, Hayes' mother, Althea Hayes, started to cry when she heard him, quote, heard him saying all he wants is to play basketball. Why don't we let him play? And Hazel Hayes said, he has a right to work, at least until he's arrested. Then she says, but why didn't he let her have her baby? That's what my daughter said to him before he had her murdered. Please, please leave me alone. All I want is my baby. So they filed a wrongful death suit, like we said. It's in preliminary stages there. And so I believe they said the standard of proof is not as strict as in a criminal case here, similar to OJ's. So they were talking about who the fuck would sign him other than Europe at that point. Now Europe doesn't want him at all. Now Jerrod Mustaf said, quote, once somebody gets killed and you're an NBA player, you get tainted. I don't think you can take off when you're an NBA player, I think, off of that, right?
Yeah, and I think that as long if they're in your orbit, I mean, you knocked her up, and you're going to be tainted for a while.
And your cousin's convicted of murdering her. Yeah, that's not good. Who you just flew out. Yeah, and the father said, "I'm not sure how much you can do about that." So he refused. Like they talked about the Fifth Amendment, and Mustaf said, "I never knew that taking the Fifth Amendment would make me look guilty."
What?
Really? Wow. Never seen any movies, TV shows, or anything, huh? Never seen anything. He said he hadn't dated the victim. He didn't know she was pregnant. He said she had a boyfriend, but he didn't know much about her before she died. He's just like, I knew she was this woman I met, but,
some gal.
This is well after DNA is confirmed that is his child in there. So he just keeps doing that.
Sir.
He said he knew her because they ran in the same circles, adding that he once recommended her as a secretary for an entertainment company. He said it just so happened that she was desperate for some money and was going to be receiving some in a few weeks, so I gave her a loan. He said that's all it was. That's why they came over that day, to give her a loan. That's it. That's it, and that's all. It's ridiculous. Now I'm a murderer? This is fucking crazy. He said, I've been convicted without a trial. What about my innocence until proven guilty? They, the public, don't understand that I am human. I hurt. I cry. I have feelings. I have a family.
Unbelievable.
Less children than I should have, but still, a family. Whoa. That is wild. So, hey, by the way, it's fucking... They don't know what to do with. He keeps talking, and fucking Shar said, quote, he is on his way. Everything was in place. He had the background. He was well read. I tried to groom that guy to be a role model and a leader. And he said that, this is all fucked up now. He was ready. He was ready. He said when Kim Davis informed him, this is back in college, a pleading filed by Wooten's attorney during the murder trial said that Mustaf impregnated a former girlfriend at Maryland when he was a freshman in '89. Quote, when Kim Davis informed him she was not going to have an abortion, as he requested, he became very angry with her and assaulted her, the memorandum said. And that's the one Mustaf says, no. He said they argued. He tried to escort her out, and she finally left. Okay. That's how that worked. You know how that goes here.
Yeah.
She finally left after fucking blotting the blood from her nose. He says, quote, oh boy, I will do whatever I can to clear my name and continue to live a meaningful life. I want to improve relations between blacks and whites and Jews and others, and I think I can.
Oh, boy.
He thinks he can do it. He's going to fix it all. Well,
he's the one.
You know what? The floor's open, Jerrod. If you can
we still need you.
Make harmony, do it. Then he says, though, as long as the Arizona authorities believe he's still involved in a murder and he's a defendant in a wrongful death suit, he said the questions are going to just keep coming. It's not going to be good for me. Hazel Hayes said, that's Althea's mom, most of the women I talk to say he sends a bad message to our young people, but I don't see athletes as role models. She said they should live a life saying, yes, you can be the best you can, and don't have anyone else's blood stain on your hand. I would say not. Next year, he plays in Barcelona, another team in Spain, and he averages 13.2 points a game.
Not good.
In 1997, he's blaming the media again. He said, I feel I've been driven out by the media. Anytime a man is not given due process, which I wasn't, I feel like I was blackballed. Again, he says, because of the media exposure, I didn't get a chance to compete. You had a prosecutor who wanted to run for office one day and a high-profile case, and people backed off. I don't even know if I'll ever get another chance at the NBA. If I don't, I'll try to do the best I can here, and in a few years move on to something else. Yeah.
Dude, His cousin was convicted of a murder that he clearly had. He would never know that woman without him.
There's no way to connect them.
And he's just
at all.
he's just in the public screaming this shit. He's out of his mind.
November 1997, they're talking about he could still face charges. There's new shit come out. A Glendale Police Department spokeswoman said an investigative report with the Maricopa County Attorney's Office contained what police believed to be sufficient grounds for a prosecution of Mustaf. This is in the newspaper. A spokesman for the county attorney says that the case has been in the hands of prosecutors for a relatively short time and is still under investigation. So he plays for that team again, 12.5 points a game now. It's going down every year, falling apart. He's still not old yet either. This is the thing. He's like 30. So he plays in Europe. He says, quote, "My career after the NBA brought me to Spain, where I learned a lot about myself and elements of the game from one of the best coaches of all time. Coach taught me patience, how to slow the game down, and how to see the game for what it is. Beyond the game, he encouraged me to explore Europe through sightseeing, understand the culture better, and recommended books to read. Maybe kill 3-4 of our women. Who knows?" When I played overseas for him, it was a shared experience with passing, timing, team concept versus individual accomplishments, sacrifice, making your teammates better through leadership. An athlete's professional career will eventually come to a close, so enjoy it while it lasts. But most importantly, realize it only represents several chapters of your life and not your entire legacy on Earth. That will be murder.
Right.
Obviously. So, 1998 here. Maricopa County records show that Mustaf fathered 5 children by 5 different women at this point.
Holy.
Not counting Althea Hayes. That's there.
6.
And ordered Mustaf to pay child support to one of them at this point. Pick one and pay them. God. I don't fucking care. That same year, Mustaf files for bankruptcy in Maryland, even though he was playing in Europe and earning more than $141,000 a month, according to a lawyer's report.
A month?
A month. Also, in 98, Mustaf settles an unspecified amount of wrongful death suit filed by Althea Hayes' parents. So,
oh boy.
That's September 1998. They settle. 3 days before the whole thing, they offered the Hayeses $50,000 to $100,000, and that was the estimated amount it would take to defend the case. So they offered him that, and they took it. So that's all there is. And they said that Romley, the prosecutor, said, "We will be utilizing all the power within this office to obtain all information that may be obtained from the civil suit." Like, maybe we can get something out of that. So 1998 or so, he marries a woman.
Who?
Okay. Shalimar Muhammad, who is the niece of Louis Farrakhan.
Is that right?
That is Louis Farrakhan's niece, who is the Nation of Islam leader. Bow tie, you know who he is. Yeah, they have a child too. Why not?
Is that? Of course they do.
Why not here? He's very fertile here.
He's building a fucking basketball team.
He's building something. February 2001, Mustaf has another problem here. He's charged with second-degree assault for reportedly attacking Shalimar in February 2001.
You can't do that.
Can't do that. Shalimar Mustaf calls herself Jerrod Mustaf's wife, although the home they are sharing was listed as her temporary residence in court documents. So after the reported assault, Shalimar sought protection from Mustaf. In March, he was ordered by the Maryland District Court to stay away from her home, the school her son attends, and her place of employment. Then he was arrested for violating that protective order.
Yeah, of course.
He has been charged with entering the residence and attempting to contact his wife where she works. The trial for assault and the dual violations of the protective order is now scheduled. And he says that when he first agreed, he said that he does an interview, but then changes his mind because basically he does an interview, then the charges come out that day. Yeah. Then the next day when he's supposed to do the interview,
he's like, I don't want to
that he agreed to, he says, I don't want to do the interview anymore. He says he changed his mind, has nothing further to say. So Shalimar tells the media, "My husband and I are fine. Jerrod and I are having no problems. We're going through some personal changes."
Oh.
Yeah. That's interesting. But in the application for statement of charges pertaining to the assault, she had a different story. She said that he slapped her face, pulled her ponytail, and slammed her face into the bed. Quote, "Then he picked up our 5-foot lamp and went to hit me and my 6-month-old in the head." He at some point realized that he was about to hit his son, so he put the lamp down. He told me I had 1 month to get out of his house with my 2 children or else he would make my life a nightmare. She also said that her son's face was smashed due to her falling on him after Jerrod slapped her. Wow. Quote, I live in fear for me and my children. She said that Mustaf pulled a knife on her also and said that I better have sex with him or he would not let me out of the house after he had stayed out all night long with another woman.
Of course he did.
Yeah. So in another statement, she wrote that Mustaf was removed from the home for violating the restraining order. She said, quote, my son, which is his stepson, is scared of him and thinks he's going to harm him because Jerrod put him out of the house. Yikes. Shalimar also told the court that Mustaf removed some of her belongings from the house, including passports, medical records, work files, and pictures. And he was arrested for that. Fuck. And then she said that there's no problems, though, and the only reason why there's a protective order and those statements were made was, quote, I got some bad advice. Okay.
From who? A cop?
And she just said, no further statement. I'm just trying to lead a positive life. Okay. Interesting. They asked him about it. Later, he's quoted in the New York Times as saying, quote, I've had all kinds of problems with women. I've seen women try all types of things. That's the one from before, which I think is perfect for right here. So 2003, he's conducting a New York Knicks Learning from the Pros basketball camp for kids ages 7 to 17.
Why do they allow that?
There's no fetuses, so nobody's in any danger.
Yeah, but why do they allow a man who has the shadow of murder around him?
We know. I will say this. Remember when we talked about Vernon Maxwell and we said that he had 35 arrests and none of them were on his Wikipedia page? There's nothing on Jerrod's Wikipedia page, anything negative at all. Nothing.
Really?
It's just he does charity, he played in the NBA, doing fine. That's it.
Oh, my God.
The NBA fucking scrubs that shit. They scrub your Wikipedia page. If you have anything to do with the league at all in the last 20 years, they will make you look like an angel. It's fucking crazy.
What the shit, man?
So February 26th, 2006, the N1 tour here is going on. And, that's all happening here. Jerrod Mustaf, he was president of the Maryland-based Street Basketball Association. So, yeah. He said that they were playing a street basketball game and saying that they could, it's going to be nice for. He's trying to give back, he says. Right. January 4th, 2008. Okay. A staff member, the Suns staff, they were doing retro night, retro Sun shit. Yeah. So they had the pink satin Rick's Ladies jackets for team president Rick Welts. Head athletic trainer Aaron Nelson paid homage to Joe Prosky with his classic white warm-up jacket and white pants. Assistant athletic trainer Mike Elliott sported an Al Bianchi look. That's an old coach from the ABA.
Oh, boy.
With plaid pants and a white belt, like my grandfather. And the broadcast team kept the telecast vintage with Tom Leander's gold chains and Tom Chambers' turtleneck. Yeah. The only thumbs down went to one staff member's choice of a Jerrod Mustaf warm-up. That's amazing.
Who did it?
Some staffer on the Suns.
He's one of the fucking soul
with a sense of humor.
Yeah.
With a sense of fucking humor. That would have been us.
Running around with a Mustaf jersey.
Yeah. So, Jesus
Christ. Mustaf warm-up? That's hysterical.
That's fucking wild. So, yeah, he does a Q&A on the street basketball thing because some of the N1 people are there. And
it'd be you and a Mustaf and me in a Dumas jersey.
Yeah, that's what we'd have. Totally. So, November 13th, 2014, apparently the GBCC, I don't know what the fuck that is.
The Great Basketball Community College.
I think it is. Take Charge Juvenile Diversion Program is still going on, and you can email him there for Jerrod.Mustaf@takechargeprogram.org.
Oh, my God.
And that's still going on, so there's advertisements for that in the Baltimore Sun.
Yeah.
April 22nd, 2019, there's an article in Sports Illustrated about this whole shit. Now, it's still coming up, coming back here.
It's not going to go away.
No, the murder, they said he's been, his cousin had been transferred throughout Arizona, was in Florence at that moment in time.
Boy.
Yeah. He's now 51, spent shitloads of his life in jail, and they talked to him, and he says, it's day to day, man. This is Wooten, who's in prison.
Yeah.
He said he's filled his days and months and years playing dominoes and basketball, and he says, quote, I'm getting too old for that now, basketball. He says he's had a series of maintenance jobs in there, doing all of his shit. He's also had 14 disciplinary infractions.
Oh.
But that's over 25 years. I mean, that'll happen.
That's one a year.
He says that he was wrongly convicted and wrongly accused. He doesn't even know Mustaf and Hayes. He didn't even know they were involved. Never mind that Mustaf had knocked her up.
Okay.
He said, you got no physical evidence against me, no facts. You don't have no prior history of me doing any of these types of things, and you charge me with this? How is that possible?
weren't you at the trial?
Well, he said they wanted another OJ.
Oh.
He said he claims he was being investigated by a crooked cop and received ineffective assistance of counsel, and he also points to his predominantly non-black jury pool. And
welcome to Phoenix, dog.
I was going to say,
what do you want?
Don't kill anyone in Phoenix if you want any kind of black people on your jury pool there. He theorizes both the Suns and Jerry Colangelo played a role too, and he said they were concerned about the publicity of having a stain on their players. He says he harbors no hard feelings for his ex-girlfriend who flipped on him and told the cops that she lied for him and got criminal immunity and all that kind of shit. He said, hey, she was going to lose her kids, so what are you going to do? He said, all of a sudden the state come and say, you was an accessory to the murder. They're going to take your kids from you. I ain't got bad feelings for nobody but the prosecution's office.
Okay.
He says he's remained loyal to his cousin, Mustaf. He says, that's my family, man. Friends, partners, associates come and go. Blood is forever. When you look back on your life, family is family, good or bad. But me and Jerrod is me and Jerrod.
Well, you killed your second cousin.
That's he's in there. He was in there, she. We don't know yet. I don't have anything bad to say about Jerrod. Jerrod ain't did nothing. Okay. That's what he said. So he's still not doing shit, to say this.
Saying he didn't do it. He's saying he's innocent.
He's saying he's innocent as fuck, man. That's a lot. So the family, though, they think that it's none of that shit. I mean, Althea's cousin, Tierman Spencer, the one she called, said, quote, Mustaf colluded, he orchestrated and ordered a hit. The weakest case you could pull together is conspiracy. I've seen conspiracy convictions when people only talk once. I think there was something afoul in Maricopa County. I don't know if it was driven by the ball club or what, but they did not connect the dots. The dots were not difficult to connect. I know there was not justice. I don't know how you charge the cousin and you don't charge him.
Right.
I don't know how you do that, and you try them together because it goes together. It makes no sense.
He knows nothing about her without him. He was flown in that day.
Yeah.
If he was flown in that day and then killed somebody and you convict him of that, obviously the only reason is because Jerrod did it.
It's fucking insane.
There's no other conclusion to get to.
Yeah, he said
allegedly.
Now, so they ask Romley. He says he's got a totally different recollection of the whole thing. He says he knew both Skull and the Glendale police were eager for the prosecution, but that Romley recalls that vast majority of his staff opposed it. For one thing, many of the people who have been called to testify were either unavailable or unreliable. Romley says, look, I know KC, the old prosecutor, very, very well. I respect him. He has tremendous trial skills, but sometimes he goes a little bit too hard. And Skull in retirement says, I think even today, if the U.S. Attorney's Office would take this case on, it could be won. He says it's still all there. They said, obviously, he had a lot of shit going on. They said Mustaf says that situation in the summer of 93, that's what he calls it. He said that taint still haunts him, and in other ways I don't even know about, he says. In ways I don't even know about, it's hurt me. He says, it's cynical. I'm cynical about everything now. Syria has weapons of mass destruction. Yeah, right. He says, he says that referring to the case, he says he's seen people do devious things and witnessed evidence being planted that was admitted. So, yeah. He says it's all bullshit. It's led to him documenting every event in his life. His home and office are now filled with notebooks and calendars. That's right. Said he's going to document everything he does.
Okay.
And he wants to write a memoir.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I want to reserve the right to tell my story.
Oh, please tell it.
Whoa. That is fucking wild. I'd love to hear that. Let's hear what your deal. He said that oh my God, this is fucking crazy. They talk about all this shit. Mustaf is talking about he was young, wealthy, socially conscious, doing all of his shit. He couldn't be linked to the murder. He said, I thought the whole entire thing was ridiculous. I didn't understand the seriousness of it then. I said, y'all are crazy. It didn't make any sense to me. Then I saw what the DA's office leaked and threw out there. In hindsight, damn, that was serious. You didn't realize murder was serious?
I don't think they had as many clues and evidence as they did.
What the fuck? That is fucking crazy. He says that also that he was a vocal opponent. He was vocal about shit that went on in the Suns that weren't good. So he thinks probably Colangelo helped the cops a little bit there. That's fucking crazy. I don't even know what to say about that. I don't know what to say about that. So he's trying to do something. He tried to get like a basketball league together for the take charge shit and everything. He says, trust me, I don't always understand it and don't know if anyone else does. Sometimes it's like there's a disconnect, you know?
What?
That's life in general. February 24th, 2020, Jesus Christ. Fans were urged by police to stay away from the Staples Center during the memorial for Kobe Bryant unless they had a ticket. Okay. More than 80,000 applied for the lottery of tickets, which had prices and all that kind of thing. Jerrod and his 14-year-old son just booked their flight from Maryland to bid Kobe a farewell before they knew they needed tickets.
What are you going to be there for?
So
you didn't even play with the kid.
He just showed up, man.
Yeah.
So he showed up there, couldn't get in. Now he showed up with his son Jaden, and Jaden wore 24 for a long time in honor of Kobe Bryant. It says his net worth is, and I don't know what he's been up to, but it says, like, we know that this is not reliable, but it says it's $437,000.
Huh.
I don't know how he'd have any money at this point, considering he was bankrupt 20 years ago, apparently, allegedly. So, and his son at this point can't get enough. Well, there's more coming.
Oh, boy.
His son, Jerrod Mustaf, is a class of 2024, so he'll be graduating high school next year at Carmel Christian School in Charlotte, North Carolina. And as a young player, he was given the nickname Lil Kobe, as partly because he would figure out a way to get his shot off, but he's grown into a more complete player with an acute basketball IQ and also a 3.4 GPA as well.
Oh, he's a smart kid.
So he's doing well. And he is by the way, this is his son with Sasha.
Yeah.
That's his son with Sasha. But I didn't know this. Sasha was the first ball girl for the New York Knicks in 1989. She was first ball girl, and she was also Miss Trinidad and Tobago in 1990.
Oh, she is a smoke show.
Smoke show. Absolute smoke show.
Jesus Christ.
Making Rihanna look like shit. You know what I mean? Like, smoke show. Miss Trinidad and Tobago.
Throwing that back?
No, shoving it around something.
Yeah.
So that, everybody, is Jerrod Mustaf in a crazy episode, and we did a full-length one pretty much on that. But there's a murder case involved that was kind of complicated that we kind of had to talk about. So
that's still unsolved.
Oh, it's unsolved. This is all allegedly, but I mean, they could open that up at any time and charge anybody with that. Yeah. Murder stay murder, as Bunk would say. It absolutely stays murder. If you like that show or have any tips in this murder case, tell the world about it. Either call the Maricopa County Sheriff's Department or get on whatever app you're listening to this podcast on and leave us a review, whichever applies in your situation.
Leave the tip there.
Just leave it right there. It's fine. And on the tip line. Yeah, there you go. Do that. Give us 5 stars. It does help drive us up the charts. So thank you to everybody who does that. It really does help a lot. Thank you. Head over to shutupandgivememurder.com. Get tickets for live shows. Chicago, August 12th. Get your tickets right now, baby. Going to be our biggest show ever, and everything else in the summer sold out. So if you want to see us this summer, come to Chicago. We're going to do a Chicago-only live show, a live show that we'll only do in Chicago. We'll record it a few months later, but we'll just going to do that one-off show there for you guys. So thank you for that. Shutupandgivememurder.com is where you get those. Patreon.com/crime and sports. You want bonus stuff? We got bonus stuff. All sorts of bonus shit. couple hundred episodes of bonus shit and new bonus shit every other month. Buy our shit, everybody. Anybody $5 a month or above, buy our shit. New episodes every other week. This week, what you're going to get for Small Town Murder, we're going to talk, or for Crime and Sports, we're going to talk about in-ring boxing deaths.
Yeah.
People beaten to death in front of crowds of cheering people. That sounds awful.
Well, people and medical personnel stand by.
Stand by waiting because they know it's possible. So there's that. And then for Small Town Murder, we are going to talk about a documentary called American Hollow. Now, it's not new. It's from 1999 or something, but if we've talked about the Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, they make the Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia look like upper crust snobs compared to these people. They're in Mudlick, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's rough. And there's murder involved in it as well that you can see bubbling in this documentary. You're like, that guy's going to kill someone, and then he kills someone. So check all that out. That is patreon.com/crime and sports. And you get a shout out at the end of the show, which is right now. But before that, make sure to keep your eye out for your stupid opinions coming sometime in the next couple weeks. Follow up on social media at Crime and Sports on Twitter and Facebook, at Small Town Murder on Instagram. And you can find out exactly when that's coming out because we'll post about it as soon as we fucking know when we're allowed to put it up. We will do that. That said, Jimmy, hit me with the list. Names of people who would never, never, never impregnate us and then have us murdered. Please, Jimmy, hit me with that list right now.
This week's executive producers are Christine Lee Gomez, I believe, Yvonne Henson, and Jordan Bennett. Congrats on your new job, Jordan. Good for you. Congrats. That's a big deal. Other producers this week are the new high school grad Maureen. Careful, Maureen. The world is full of cunts. Peyton Meadows,
full of cunts.
Chad Novak, Liz Vasquez. Happy birthday and retirement. Look at you.
Oh, Liz, working it all out. Happy.
All on the same day. Eva Dodson, legendary sports writer Peter Schmuck, Gorilla Monsoon's comb-over, Shitta Perlman's brother Myron Putz, Rose Bellinger is getting married. Congrats, Rose. Janice Hill, Alexandra Jones, Christopher Almodovar, that's right. Eddie Centeno's loving memory. Wish you were here, Eddie. Jesus, that hurts so much to say out loud. I don't know. All right.
Sucks.
Harry Strange, Rhiannon Montgomery, Nicole Frenette, Owen Schneider, Manly Hilburn, Kimberly Arthur, Heather Webb, Kristen Bayless, Taryn with no last name, Daniel Nash, Robert Cunningham, BG, Amber Antonora, Jennifer Norgate, Brandon K, Ashley, oh boy. Okay.
Ashley, oh boy.
I don't like it's her last name, Negro. That's her last name. I don't know what you want.
N-I-G-R-O?
N-I.
N-I-G-R-O.
Yeah, I thought you said A. All right, we'll move along.
It's the last fucking name. What do you want?
I don't want to say it.
It's a color in other countries. There's Vinny Del Negro not allowed to fucking go anywhere?
Don't want to say it.
Retire from the Spurs and go bury your head in the sand.
Right off in the sunset.
The sunset.
I didn't do it. Elizabeth, no last name. Marco Azardia. Bonaventure. No last name. Kristen Willis Donnellan with no last name. Terry Powers, Anna Can 97. Charlie with no last name. Stephanie Atkinson Fowler. Selena Mallier. All right, Tim Foster.
I'm sure it's one of those.
Shane Vergens, Shira Scott, probably not either. Stacey Haynes, Amy Dunhee, Ren Newport, Gabrielle Amaya, Kendra Watson, Jason Attic, maybe. Blake Tice Taylor, Brian and Cindy Price, Jennifer Chopoulas, McKenna Thompson, Shay Beaumont, that's probably what it is. Khalif Ogburns. Yep, off. Linda Maldonado, that may be Maldonado. Susan Western, Jason Allen, Shane Stevens, Ryan P. Rosette with no last name, Chatta Yaprick. Shutta, you prick. All right. You shut up. Kate Soros, Munica Peeling. Monica, maybe. It's Munica. Latoya Wendelbo. Rissa with no last name. Kateri, Agnes, Tyrone Bowman, Jacob with no last name, Ricky Stout, Janelle Boyer, Eva Dodson. I said that. Thank you, Eva. You've done it twice. Both ways. Kyle Gager maybe. Zach Russo, The Ledge with no last name, Alexis Smith, Micah Bailey, Walter OGB, Garth Laster, Christopher Reese, Michaela Goodsell, Bryce Payne, Abby with no last name, Aaron Painter, Michaela, nope, that's Phil McCracken. You fill your own McCracken. Janet,
Scottish therapist.
Is it? Is that who it is?
It's a SNL sketch.
Right.
It's Phil McCracken, Scottish therapist.
There you go. Janeth Herrera, Amy Lestenik, Bill Compton, Cindy L., Alan Hurst, Kiki Mora, Dan Watson, Connor Stewart, Bryce with no last name, Neil Gambino, Dee Dee Heritage, Andrew Kolb, Jay Steyerwalt, Tennille Benediga, boy oh boy, Angie Klein Hamilton,
boy oh boy, Adia.
Heather Nelson Leonard. Heather Nelson Leonard. That's yellow leather blue. What was the yellow?
You almost said leather hen. I heard it coming.
It's very yellow leather, red yellow. All right. Ron Mex 07. I believe that's a reference to Ron Mexico. Matt with no last name. Stephen Powell, Jacob Moylan,
yeah.
Coulter Hansen, Stanley Pierre, Hannah Britton, Jen McDougall, Heather Langston, Kayla Parr, Bethany Belts, I believe, Nathaniel Fuller, Raven DeBryan, Raven and Raylan Cooley, Katie Clark, Don Lebecki, Tyler Dasta, Brett Cooper, Bradley with no last name, Netzjaval. Never going to get these. Atticus and Benji.
You got
Daniel
this shit.
Schaefer, Joseph Calvi, Caesar Salad, James Petralka, Nathan Diamond, Sandra Lacey, Julie Ianducci. Julie Ianducci.
Hey, yo. How you doing?
Tiffany Robertson, Adela Molly, Tom with no last name, Scott Fennell maybe, Robin Largo, Annabelle Leaf. Rhonda Benjamin, Robert Trajana, Trahant, Isaac Ramayaldo Vega.
You are in a bad hole right now. It's all falling apart.
Jesus Christ. Ryan Potts, David Kearney maybe.
Fenders falling off, fucking hubcaps rolling down the street.
Saide Orozco. Perfect. Julie Pryor, Dave with no last name, Joe Spino, Joyce Ola Sagana, what the fuck, Mick Lil Chunk Bates, and Michelle Garrity, probably Pat Garrity's daughter, Stacy with no last name, Matt with no last name, Katie with no last name, Marilyn Mejia, Ann Margot, Michael Evans, Abby Cole, Michael Shank, Adam Shriver, Natasha Warren, Donna with no last name, Kendra Dillman, Jay with no last name, Heidi Goyette, David Hawkins, Sam Grandy, Max Guard, Ty Everett, Wendy Lambert, Crystal Lamb, Shane Weir, Kate Parker, Amanda West, not Adam West, Ian Hesacker, Jessica Calixto, Becca Drews, Jazzy Q, Emily Mullins, Schmegma in your eye, gross, Cameron Garcia, Gabriela Santiago, Juliana with no last name, Rajas Pimplecari, what Pimplacare, Leslie Klein, Dixon Idame, I don't know what it is, Idame. How do you want me to say it that makes it funny? Anthony Pike and all of our patrons. You're amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody, for all that you do for us. God damn it, do we appreciate
Truly.
it. We hope you're loving the bonus shit, and we'll keep pumping it out.
You make this show worthwhile. Thank you.
You make the goddamn show worthwhile. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for all that you do for us. If you want to get a hold of us on social media individually for any reason at all, you can do that super easy over at shutupandgivememurder.com. Links to everything are right there. It's all very organized and easy to figure out and everything like that. So keep doing that. Keep seeing us. Keep coming back live from the Crime and Sports Studios. We will see you next week.
Bye.
If you like crime and sports, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
A few miles from the glass spires of Midtown Atlanta lies the South River Forest. In 2021 and 2022, the woods became a home to activists from all over the country who gathered to stop the nearby construction of a massive new police training facility. nicknamed Cop City.
At approximately 9 o'clock this morning, as law enforcement was moving through various sectors of the property, an individual, without warning, shot a Georgia State Patrol trooper.
This is We Came to the Forest, a story about resistance.
The abolitionist mission isn't done until every prison is empty and shut down.
Love and fellowship.
It was probably the happiest I've ever been in my life.
And the lengths we'll go to protect the things we hold closest to our hearts. Follow We Came to the Forest on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.